Retro Hangover is supported via Patreon by listeners like you. We would especially like to thank patrons Lyle McKarns, Tony G, Tom the Superhero, Stud Still Smash the Milkman, Lucas from Game Over Hell, Mast Keaton, Ozzy Garcia, JC, Megan Caruso, Dave Jackson, Jenny E, Retro Overdrive, Soha, The Emperor, Storm Beagle, Matt aka Stormageddon, Van Fertile, and B. Ross from Super Garbage Day, Jared Brayland, Randall Quiggle, Raging Demon, Keith Gasper, The Retro Vixen, Eric Guess, Nomad from the Retro Wildlands Podcast, Ash Event, Alan Bingham, Mike the Ref from Backbreaker Gaming, Alt, Gary Heather, Low5 Alex, Oh Me, Makeshift Money, Segaboy 7, Riskel, and Adam R. Your continued engagement and generous donations are deeply appreciated.
Open your ears and crack some beers. You are listening to the most recent episode of Retro Hangover.
Hello, retro and classic gamers. Welcome to the podcast where we personally probe personable personas, providing provocative, predictable proclamations, proving promiscuity. This is Retro Hangover. I am your co-host, Chris Copeland, with special guest, the first Patron Saint, Lyle of You Random Podcast, and, as always, your host, Shane. Long-nosed Dick Dragon Salter.
Why couldn't it have been like the Dick Dragon Velvet Room? Make it something fancy.
Because they called the guy long nose because he has a long nose.
No, I get
he does
it.
Have a long
like
nose.
I got it. Like I got the reference. That's not what I'm asking. I'm asking.
Are you asking?
Why can't it?
You're
be
asking
fancy?
penetrating questions.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Like I want there to. It's a champagne room. That's what it is. And who was that? Was it Chris Rock? Was he the one that said there's no sex in the champagne room?
Well, there isn't. You just take one of them back to your room.
I don't know. I don't know how any of that
And
works.
If you don't, you don't get the true ending. That's how this works.
Is the true ending a venereal disease?
It can be, depending on your interpretation of things.
Ah, the sailor's affliction.
That's certainly not the good ending.
No. Welcome to Retro Hangover, everybody. Keeping up with tradition and our just ridiculous banter. We are going to be talking about Persona 4 Golden today. The episode that is just, it's like legendary within our circles.
Long awaited.
So the dozens of you have been waiting for this. Yes. It is finally here. It is finally here. And the reason that we are talking about Persona 4 Golden is because of the one, the only, Lyle McKarns. Welcome back to the show, Lyle. This is a slightly better game than the one that you were on with us last time.
Yes.
I don't know, man. I wasn't able to throw anybody out any windows in this one, so that's a knock against it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Shane, that's in like hour 60.
Oh, so I didn't make
that
it there.
That is. Oh my God.
Oh, you weren't kidding. Okay, shit. Well,
I mean, I kind of was, but also maybe not.
That's like hour 70. A little bit late. Well, it depends how fast you play this game.
Well, I'm glad you guys just outed me right off the get as far as like not finishing this game, but it's fine. You know what? There are a number of games that we have talked about that I have not finished, but this is probably the one I would say that I still feel good about because I put fucking like 50 hours into this game. So, you know, I feel like it was a good effort.
Yeah, when to kind of spoil a little bit of behind the scenes, we were supposed to record this 3 weeks ago or something.
It's something like that.
And
yeah,
you guys reached out and said, "Hey, can we move this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." But it was folks hadn't finished the game but wanted to, which I immediately took as a good sign because if you hadn't finished the game and didn't care, we'd have just recorded then.
True.
Well, you don't know because Shane still didn't. So,
but he at least tried.
Yeah, 50 hours is a lot for Shane. I'm proud of him.
There was an attempt.
Yeah, I mean, I finished the game yesterday at just under 80 hours.
I finished the game 2 days ago at 90 hours. So, bah. Is that good? Is that bad? What will we say about this on this upcoming episode? You're going to have to listen. The answer may surprise you. Or will it?
I mean, we're going to say a lot. At least I am. I have like 3 pages of notes to talk about.
Great. All right.
This is going to be a 3-hour episode, isn't it?
Probably.
It's 3 pages of notes to remind me of things I could talk about. I don't have to say everything that's written down here.
Certainly.
I just have, the memory of a goldfish.
Me too. All right. Anyway, as is tradition, how we start the show off, we like to talk about what games we have been playing lately. And also, as tradition, as we are wont to do, we let our guests go first and talk about the games that they've been playing in their spare time, if they've been playing games at all. So, Lyle, what games have you been playing lately?
I'm sorry, I don't understand. There are other games?
Okay.
No, I'm only mostly kidding. As kind of a palate cleanser, I have been playing a bunch of Monster Train. It's another card-based roguelike. They recently re-released it on iOS and Android, or at least Android. So it's kind of my winding down, not thinking very much game to play through. Other than that, the game du jour.
Makes sense. Shane, how about yourself?
Yeah, I've actually heard good things about Monster Train. I might have to give that a shot at some point. Another friend of mine got like real into it on PC there for a while. But let's see, what have I been doing besides Persona? Mostly things that I think I was just like streaming on Sundays. I think that's the majority of the only other things I've gotten in. So played a little game called Desktop Survivors 98, which is a pretty neat concept. It's basically like, what if Vampire Survivor but Windows 98 desktop, and what if Clippy but Sword? It's pretty neat. Kind of speaks to my age brackets nostalgia, I think, right around that Windows 98 kind of era of time. So it's cool. There's some things I'm not like super jazzed about with it, but for the most part, it's a pretty cool little thing. Other than that, I think right now it's mostly just a lot of like mobile stuff because that's the things I can fit in, in the small increments of time. Although I have been pretty good mostly of sticking to like Google Play Pass games, i.e. ones that don't require microtransactions and are a complete product. That's helped a bit, I think. I'm trying to stay away from the scourge that is the gachapon. So let's see what I've been doing there. There's a pretty cool one, actually, speaking of survivor likes, called Bounty of One that is available on Play Pass. It is pretty much just a straight up like Vampire Survivors style game, but it's like set in like the Old West with like a little bit of a mix of like sort of technology-ish and maybe a little arcane. It gives me sort of like Deadlands, but also like Wild Wild West, the Will Smith joint kind of vibes somewhere around there, I think. But that one's pretty neat. And that's I don't know, man. I think that's kind of it right now. I'm still playing the wizardry one, the Daphne, the wizardry variants. So that's got me back in on that one again. I still blame Stika for that.
Gachapon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it is.
it's
It
his fault.
is, but like in terms of those kind of games, it's not particularly egregious. Like you don't really have to actually spend any money to get basically the full experience. Like you can get a full party of like legendary characters just by playing, so it's not a huge deal. So it's not particularly egregious, I guess. But yeah, that's kind of what I got going on right now. I don't know what do you have you even had time to do anything besides like Persona and Croc?
Technically, no. So if you've been paying attention to the stream, I have been playing Croc, and I intend on doing some sort of review with that with Randall. And if you want to jump on, Shane, you're more than welcome. Welcome to your show. And so I actually had some time to play something different because I didn't want to play Croc before the stream because I wanted to keep it consistent with my stream progress. So I had to think of something else because I was bored yesterday. And I realized that I haven't gotten any Io Saturnalia games out yet. For the past couple weeks, just because I've been delayed trying to focus on Persona, not blaming it, but blaming it. But I've been focusing on that so I can, and I don't want to like advance Io Saturnalia without knowing that I can have time to play more. But I finally did. And I played a game called Quarterback Attack with Mike Ditka, which is a digital pictures game. You might be, well, who's Digital Pictures? They're the people who made Corpse Killer.
Oh, I
if you
thought
don't know
you
what that
like
means,
literally meant it was just like a game with digital pictures. I was like, is that not most games?
No, that's the name of the studio, the developer and the producer. Yeah, I think they also made Sewer Shark.
Ooh,
they have a stellar reputation.
These do not sound like the names of games that a studio makes and then turns around and makes a sports game.
The thing is that they try to say it's not a sports game. It is an interactive movie with sports.
So it's a sports FMV.
Yes.
it's like a football visual novel. Like what are we doing here?
It is actually it's pretty novel. Not like a visual novel, but it's pretty novel. I don't know how many people out there have played Madden when they tried to do this quarterback view. I don't know if they still do it anymore. I don't play Madden anymore. But where you get like the first person's perspective of playing as the quarterback, it does that, but with movies. So you hike the ball, like you go in there. It's all first person's perspective, like a movie. It plays a movie. And then you hike the ball and you have this like crappy sprite against another movie. And then you hit like the receiver button and then it plays a movie of a receiver running a route and you have to press the pass button at the right time to hit the receiver, which is a lot more difficult than it sounds. It's actually kind of cool, but it does not work.
This sounds like a football FMV with QTEs.
Yes, but it's not even QTEs. It's like fluid. It's weird. It's weird and it's cool and it's horrible. And I don't know if I like it. In fact, I don't like it. I'll just say that. I don't like it. But it's like one of the coolest fucking things I've ever played. And is so bad.
That is really an enjoyable experience, is finding something that is like, this is so interesting that I love it, even though it's terrible.
Yeah. No, that's exactly it. It's like I admire all the hard work that went into it. There was a ton of work to go into this game. There had to have been. But I was like, it just doesn't work. But wow, did you guys try your ass off? It almost works. It almost works. Just doesn't. But man, that's cool. So there you go. Quarterback Attack with Mike Ditka. And as you could imagine, it stars Mike Ditka.
I would have never guessed.
He is an actor in this interactive movie. He's your coach. Surprise. Shocker. This was when he was in between the time he got fired from the Bears and he got picked up by the Saints. So I'm going to write out a review for that. I know I just kind of gave one, but I'm going to go more in depth in my Io Saturnalia series about a Quarterback Attack with Mike Ditka. But the good news is that the game after this is Sega Rally Championship. So I look forward to doing that because that's supposedly a good game. So that's me. Those are the games that I've been playing.
Well then, okay. I feel like your take on that is like, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I respect your right to do it.
Yeah. I'll go with that.
Well,
I don't know what that direction is. Kind of like how you're going to get me into the brief history here, I'm sure.
I mean, yeah, I feel like that is my job currently, is to function as a segue.
There you go.
And not even the cool kind. That entirely depends on what your definition of cool is. It could be Paul Blart. Who knows? Anyway, Chris, we are here to talk about Persona 4 Golden, and I believe we owe the fine people at home a brief history. So would you be so kind, or would you kindly provide that
BioShock
to them?
The Shin Megami Tensei series had, since its inception, struggled to find an audience outside Japan. In the instances it was localized in the West, the games often had to make compromises to the game's presentation, storylines, titles, a variety of things in an attempt to reduce alienation for a Western audience. These were the days before anime was widely accepted, and the ones that eventually started to change that terms of anime were bright and colorful. Not dark and brooding and all about capturing demons based on real historical lore. However, in 2006, Atlus released Persona 3, with a follow-up, improved edition of that game, Persona 3 Fez, released in 2007. And while it wasn't a major mainstream hit, after all, it was a JRPG released after the Xbox 360 had landed, it did well enough to start cracking that SMT acceptance shell. While it would be easy to say that Atlus capitalized on that success, they would actually begin development on the next game almost immediately after the release of Persona 3. Aptly titled Persona 4, the game's director at Atlus, Katsura Hoshino, wanted to build and improve upon the story and gameplay mechanics of the previous installment. Story-wise, the direction that Hoshino decided on was that of a murder mystery novel, as he theorized it would keep the player driving forward to find more information. Persona 4 would also take place in a more rural setting, a bit of a departure from the previous game's more urban environments. Shin Megami Tensei Persona 4 was first announced in the March 2008 issue of Famitsu, with an announcement that it would be coming to North America shortly after at the 2008 Anime Expo in Los Angeles, California. The release would not be far behind, with the game first releasing in Japan for the PlayStation 2 on July 10, 2008, and December 9th in North America. PAL regions would see it on March 12th of the following year. Critical reception was overwhelmingly positive, especially for a game released so late in the PlayStation 2's lifespan. In aggregate, it scored a 90 according to Metacritic, noting that the quicker battle mechanics from Persona 3, as well as the ability to control your party members, greatly improved the experience. Sales-wise, it moved 410,000 total units on the PlayStation 2, which, again, was impressive considering that at release the PlayStation 3 had been out for 2 years. This was buoyed by the game posting almost 200,000 sales in Japan in its first week, and also being the best-selling PlayStation 2 game in North America on Amazon's storefront for 2 weeks. What other PlayStation 2 games were coming out then? Don't worry about that. But that's not where Persona 4's story ends. As is almost expected for Atlus titles, Persona 4 was in line to see a re-release with improvements and additional content, much like Persona 3 had with Persona 3 Fez. In this case, because Persona 4 had released so late into the PlayStation 2's life, it wouldn't make sense to release this edition of the game on that hardware. But when the PlayStation Vita released in 2011, the opportunity for this type of release presented itself, and on June 14, 2012, Persona 4 The Golden was released in Japan, dropping the Shin Megami Tensei moniker from the series for the first time. North America see release on November 20th of the same year, and PAL regions would see it on February 21st of 2013. In these regions, it would be named Persona 4 Golden, dropping the. This version included additional social links, story elements, and quality of life improvements, and was received even better than the original. Its aggregate score, according to Metacritic, is a 93, one of the highest rated games of all time. It also drove sales of the struggling Vita and achieved an incredible attach rate. Persona 4 went on to sell 1.5 million total copies, more than 10% of the total units that the Vita would sell in its lifetime as a whole. Since its release, Persona 4 has become one of the biggest hallmarks for Atlus and defined the series until the release of Persona 5. It had several spin-offs to include Persona 4 Arena, Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, Dancing All Night, and was directly tied to the Persona Q series. It also inspired manga, a light novel, and anime in Japan. Persona 4 Golden was also brought to contemporary consoles in 2003 to include PC, and has a remake in the works called Persona 4 Revival, which was announced in June of 2025. And that is your brief history of Persona 4 Golden.
All right. Thank you, Chris, for the brief history. It's always interesting to me with, I mean, not just games, but like movies or even sometimes even books, I guess, that where like it takes, several releases before it seems like there's a real breakout. And based on this, or based on the brief history, at least, it seems like Persona 4 was like kind of it for that series, at least like, outside of Japan, I guess.
I would say it's probably Persona 3. And Persona 4 was just the follow-up that needed to happen to further push it in that direction.
Gotcha.
But I mean, especially like if you look at the time that everything was released, it was like one of those really odd hits. Like it shouldn't have happened, but it did. And I'm happy it did, because I think it really moved forward a lot of those more obscure niche anime-inspired RPGs that we didn't see a lot of. So I'm happy that it found success, because I mean, it like 410,000 copies for the PlayStation 2 when that came out. Even for that kind of game, that's kind of a big deal. Not like 10 million, 20 million copies, but it was that's a huge profit for that type of game at that time. Now, Lyle, before we recorded this, you said you read this and you found some surprises. What struck out to you in the brief history?
I guess I hadn't looked at what kind of scores it got, and I was pleasantly surprised to see how high it had scored on Metacritic. I mean, stuff I'll get into on the brief personal experiences, but I know how much this game means to me. It's nice to see that it is, at least at the time, it was well regarded by most of the people who played it.
Oh yeah. I didn't know it scored that high either, especially on the Vita. I did not know that Golden was that well received. I knew it was well received. I knew Persona 4 was well received. The only reason I'd even got into the Persona games, I know it kind of personal experiences, it ties more in Persona 3. But the only reason I even got into Persona series is because the murmurings for Persona 3 and 4 and how well they were received by game critics at the time. Because if I didn't have an online mindset and presence, I probably would have passed up this series entirely. Because what major publications were, whatever is left in 2008, were covering it. But yeah, I mean, I had no idea that Golden was that big of a title, critically. No clue at all. So like, that's, as you said, like that's one of those pleasant surprises when you look back and you're like, oh, wow. Okay, this game is kind of a big deal. 1.5 million copies too.
Yeah.
Not many games have a 1 out of 10, more than a 1 out of 10 attach rate to a system. Granted, that system didn't sell very well, but how many games can claim that outside of a Nintendo pack-in title, right? Yeah. You're not going to find things like that very often.
I do also think it's a funny just through line. Last year when I was on, we played a game that was extremely late on the PlayStation, and now we're playing a game that's extremely lit on the PS2. And let me tell you, that's about where the similarities end.
Yes, that's about it. Are you saying that this is no Hellboy?
This is certainly
We're
no
not going to
Hellboy.
get. Okay. Damn. Just looking forward to more Hellboy. Okay. Let's get into personal experiences. That is a good segue, kind of, into a personal experience. Shane, I know that you have a long story, so let's just get out of the way. What's your personal experience with Persona 4?
I think I probably saw some artwork about Persona on the internet once.
Thank you, Shane.
You're welcome.
Your input is invaluable.
Shane, you're missing a really, really important part of this personal history. You have listened to me harass you about this game for the last 2 years.
I guess that's you know what, that's fair. Maybe I was just trying to repress that, but yes, thank you for bringing that up. I appreciate it.
I'll go next because I know, I mean, judging by the amount of times I've heard Lyle tell me how many times he's beaten this game and how long he's played this game, he has me beat in that department for sure, in terms of hours played. So I know he's going to have that personal experience story. But for myself, I got this game after I came home from my deployment in 2009. I was in Japan and I came back from there. I had played a little bit of Persona 3. So, like, you see that the game released, I think it said in 2008, the end of 2008. I was in Japan at the time, and I did not have access to the game. I don't even think I knew it released, even though I'd already played Persona 3 and was a big fan of it. So I got back from Japan in June or so, and at that time, I got a PlayStation 3. I made sure it was the backwards compatible one, the one that could play PS2 games, because, like, why wouldn't you if you knew what was up? Because by that time, Sony had started phasing out the backwards compatible versions. And I was about to move up to Chicago because I was transferring up there. I was going to spend 3 years in North Chicago at the Navy boot camp, pushing recruits as a drill instructor. And I moved up there in early November. I think it was early November, maybe a little before that. And I ended up moved in, like, spending time in my friend's apartment. And his wife was Japanese. So, like, there's a scene in this game where you have, what is it? Under the table. I forgot the name of it, where, like, it's a warm blanket where it warms up and you eat dinner and you sit down and you eat. They had one of those in their house. So there was a lot of mirroring between my experience that I was having with Persona 4, because I just started that before I got into that apartment. I'd play, like, in my spare time, free time, I'd play that while, like, I had nothing else to do. So I'd be playing Persona 4 there, like, just living my life by myself, waiting for my family to come up. Almost like the scenario in this game, meeting new people, talking to new people, like meeting family members that I hadn't seen in a long time because my cousin was there because her husband was stationed there. So, like, there was that parallel, and it was, like, really unique. And it just resonated with me so hard. And I loved it. I love the game. It actually, like, I was already really captured by Atlas and the Persona series. And I'd just gotten Devil Summoner 2 at the time, too. And I was really enjoying that. But yeah, Persona 4 just really made me solidified me as a big fan because of that. It's just, and I'll get into why when we get into gameplay, because there's a lot that resonates there. But I never played Golden because I never got a Vita. I got a PS TV, courtesy of Lyle, and I think that was back in 2021, 2022,
something like that,
somewhere around there, a little before that. And I got a PS TV from that, but I never got Golden for the TV, even though he had it loaded on there. I need his login in order to play it, so that didn't happen. But it's still, I could tell that he played Golden on that thing, which was awesome. But yeah, because he nominated that, I've been looking forward to playing this a little bit, like, hesitantly. And then the limited run deal came out, and I made sure I didn't get the, like, $200 one because I'm not dumb. I don't want to say that because maybe you got the $200 one, but I didn't. I felt like I would be dumb if I purchased a $200 thing for it. But I did get, like, it's $70 one, so I'm a little dumb. And I got the Grimoire edition, because, like, the series means a lot to me, and I was able to play that for my Nintendo Switch, even with my one. See, this is where I get more dumb. I got the Persona 4 Nitro Deck Cracked Edition, Persona 4 Golden when I played it on that for this. Because, like, yeah, this game does have a monumental impact on my life. So maybe I'm going to come at this a little biased, just slightly, but we'll see. So, Lyle, how about yourself?
So I first played this game I think I got it, it was late 2017. And I got it because one of my friends at the time, good friend of mine, decided I needed to play it. He was so convinced that I needed to play it that he mailed me a copy. And then a Vita showed up. And he's like, I know how to get people to do what I want. I will guilt them into doing it. And it worked. So I first started playing it, and I just wanted the talking to be over so I could do the cool battles. And it didn't take very long for me to realize that was backwards. But I fell in love with it. And also, it's the next game in the series, Persona 5. And it just genuinely changed how I look at video games in ways that I still struggle to articulate. And I'm going to spend the next chunk of time trying to figure out how to articulate that. And then for the last 2-ish years, I've been harassing my fellow patrons to get this thing on the docket so that I could share all this, how much I love this game with you guys. Most of the games I've suggested have been bad, sometimes on purpose and sometimes not on purpose. This game was never a troll. I genuinely love this game. The fact that it's 70 hours and terrifying is a hilarious bonus. And I don't own a katana.
I do own a katana.
I'm fairly certain that you said something about owning a katana, and that's why I added that to my notes. So I've played it all the way through twice, and then I think I have about half of a New Game Plus playthrough at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But I played it all the way through on my Vita, bouncing between the Vita and the PS TV, and it took me like 6 months to beat. And then this time I bought it basically day one on Steam and played it on my Steam Deck.
How many times did you put it up for the patron vote?
Every quarter for almost 2 years.
I was to say as
Was it 2
many
years?
as it takes.
I think it
was like a year and a half, but yeah.
I think it was either 6 or 7 in a row.
Yeah.
And so I would like to thank all my fellow patrons for the pity vote of finally getting me to shut up about it. I promise at least 2 years of rest before I start back on a similar train.
So there you go, Tom the superhero. Maybe one day Omicron can win. Maybe. We'll see. There's hope. I don't think it has the same reputation as Persona 4, though, but you never know. You never know. But it made it. I'm glad it made it. I'm glad we got to play this. I don't want to play my hand too much here, but I'm certainly glad that it had an opportunity to be talked about on the show for sure. For my own personal reasons as well. And I never wanted to put that into the conversation, but yeah, now people know. Now people know that this is a game, that it was a big deal for me as well, and glad it was a big deal for you too. And Shane's here. So let's get in. Let's get into this game's plot and writing. So let me just give a basic backdrop because I was looking for the manual for Persona 4. Persona 4 Golden, I guess, doesn't have a manual. Because...
Doesn't it? Let me go check.
Does it? Okay. If it does, you can read the story.
I still have my case that my Vita copy came in, and no, it's nope.
Okay.
Just had a spot for the cartridge.
No story there.
Nope.
So I'll have to describe this here. So the main character, who has no official name, but the official name is also you. Why you? So you. Clever. Does his parents get a divorce? His parents are getting a divorce or something like that, right?
I honestly don't even remember what's going on with his parents. Like, it's just,
yeah.
You have to go live somewhere else for a year.
Yes. You need to go live with your uncle in a rural city called Inaba. And you have to be there for the entirety of a year. And you're just supposed to be chilling. And it doesn't even say in the Wikipedia synopsis here. Doesn't even say what happens to his parents. But you got to go live in Inaba for a year with your uncle Dojima and his daughter Nanako. And you're just supposed to go to high school, be a regular high school student, and yeah, that's supposed to be it. However, surprise, that's not what happens. And a string of murders starts to happen, and you discover that you have a mysterious power in order to enter the TV and go to a different world where you can discover people are being murdered there through their appearance on a mysterious channel called the Midnight Channel that shows up at midnight, appropriately, when it's raining after a foggy day. So you and your friends that you gather along the way must go through these dungeons and solve the mystery of who killed the people at the beginning of the game. And that's how it starts. Of course, it gets a lot deeper. You end up fighting essentially Satan and saving the world. If you do things right, because you may not do things right, and it goes horribly, horribly wrong, because there's all sorts of options. Anyway, that's the synopsis of the story in the most basic sense. By the way, spoilers are on the menu, so don't worry about holding back. So let's kick it over to, well, Shane, you made it halfway through. What's your impressions of the story so far?
50 hours halfway through. Yeah, I mean, let's see, where do I even start with this? So I think the funny thing is I genuinely didn't really know what to expect going into it. Like, I kind of just thought it was going to be like some real fluffy, like Japanese, like high schoolers, like dumb problems. And also you, I guess, get to do magical dungeon shit or whatever. And I wasn't really clear on what even a persona is. Maybe partially purposefully. I was kind of just going in mostly blind because I had no prior experience with any of this. And I think, I mean, we'll obviously get into this in a little bit, but I mean, there's a lot to be said for the other aspects of the game. But if I were to do a comparison, I think that, and I don't think this is a hot take, I'm just going to go out on a limb there, but I think the story and the writing and like where this game is willing to go in order to tell its story. And I think the sort of like authenticity with which it tells it is really the draw, or at least it is for me. Like, I was not expecting any of that, and I was very pleasantly surprised and I don't want to say shocked, but like I was actually a little taken aback by just how, like, I guess raw the game gets at certain points, with like when you're really sort of exploring the repressed, like, inner, workings of, your fellow high schoolers and some of the other folks around the town when you're doing your little persona dungeon delving thing. And it goes places that I was not expecting it to go at all. But I kind of respect it that it does. Like, it kind of owns what it wanted to do and what it's trying to say. And I dig it. I dig it. So I would really struggle to find anything about the writing or the plot progression or anything like that I would really want to nitpick. Like, I think the characters are all very well written. The dialogue is generally pretty great. I love the interactions between the, your friends, like you and all of your friends. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's Lyle was right. And I know this, if it wasn't already given at this point, like, it's probably going to be pretty clear that we all like this game. But he was right when he said earlier that, it was more of like a, hey, it's not, let's just talk about this thing and get it over with. It's like, hey, let's get some more time in because we want to really experience it and then talk about it, from like I guess a better educated point of view. But like, and I told you this offline a number of times that I genuinely enjoy the game. I think it's great. There's a good chance, time willing, that I'll just continue playing it after we're done recording this episode, because I do really like playing it. It's just, for me, it's just a matter of trying to find the time to get another like 30 or 40 hours into the damn thing.
Yeah, I feel you for sure. And I'm glad there's some points I'm going to talk about there a little bit. Lyle, what did you think about the plot, writing, and story here?
I mean, for me, this is the magic. Like, this is the magic of the game. Shane really did hit it. It's just these people, they feel real, and they dig into things. As I said, I really struggle with articulating how this game makes me feel. On one hand, you're just a high school kid going through shit with your friends. but also maybe you're saving the world.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, still going through like the shit of growing up. And it's the way that those two things continue to interact the whole way through. And I particularly love the opportunity to decide who you're going to spend your time with, to pick the people you're going to, build these social links with, and just see as much of their story as you can. One of the things I was more intentional about this time, both having played the game and knowing like how to interact with it, I was intentional about, okay, I want to make sure I see as many people's stories as I can. And then there are also, to get some of the endings, you have to do some specific things. So I wanted to make sure I did that, because the first time I played it, I didn't look anything up the first time I played it. I just dove in, and I missed a couple of the endings because of that. And I wanted to make sure I saw them. I'm glad I did.
Mm-hmm.
There was only one person in like your group of friends whose social links I didn't max out. That was Naoto. You have to have, I did. This is the one I should have done a little more research on beforehand, because you have to have certain abilities, certain like personality traits leveled up to a certain level to even be able to start her thing. And I wasn't there by the time when you unlocked her. And I'm just like, nope, I can't. But like everyone else in the party, and like almost everyone else I started, I think there was only one other one I started and didn't finish, and that was the fox.
Yeah.
And so you get to see all these people's slices of life and just the shit they're going through. Your uncle struggling to get over a death, Nanako trying to figure out how to deal with that, being a child, your friends going through like typical teenager stuff. And it's such a diverse, such a wide ranging cast of characters. And then there's Teddy.
When I look to describe this game, I do want to say the overarching plot, the murder mystery itself that they have. It almost kind of takes a back seat, and is, I would say it's the arc itself. The arc itself is kind of dumb. It's very repetitive, almost monster of the week, almost like an episodic approach to how they tell the story. And like after a while, it kind of becomes, okay, this is kind of predictable, because you get to the end of each character's dungeon, and it's like, especially for your party members, oh, don't tell the persona that's not you, or else it will get angry. And of course they do it, and then you fight the monster, and then it's like on to the next, right? And that's not the best plot line. And like, if that was all the storyline was, I don't think this game would be fondly remembered. But that's not what Persona is. That's not what any of the Personas really are. And I think that especially that's not what Persona 4 is. Because there'd be plenty of times that I'd be playing the game and not really even recently, not really appreciating what I think the game was trying to do. Now I get to the end of the game, what I know that what the game was trying to do. It was trying to make you appreciate just spending time in the town that it crafted for you, spending time in Inaba, spending time with the people there, spending time with your high school friends. It feels like the person who wrote this story was trying to reminisce what it was like being a high schooler, what it was like when they were a teenager, and trying to really make a romantic picture of what it was like to be that, with like just the craziness that like the hyperbole probably of the stories that they remember and everything like that. Like this is someone's experiences to a degree, or a collective group of collective of experiences that you're thinking, isn't this a murder game, like a mystery game? You're trying to find a killer. And as the plot goes on, I didn't really care about that. I wanted to know more about the characters in my party. I wanted to know more about like the characters in my school, or Dejima or Nanako or these other characters that you're talking to, what their stories are, as Lyle said. By the time I got to the end of the game, it was like, this is like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to stop playing. I don't want to see this character leave this town. I want him to stay here. I don't want him to, it's like all these experiences are great. And even though the overall arc is dumb. Like those experiences when you're going into these dungeons and you're seeing your party's members' vulnerabilities and who they are on the inside and how that makes them who they are. Or even not so much who they are on the inside, but the way they kind of see themselves or are afraid to see themselves or a part of them that they don't really want to admit exists inside of them. And that does help inform the conversations that your party members have with you. It brings a genuineness to it. You know who they are, and all of the other party members know who they are. And that's why they gel. And it's like an ideal situation of that kind of WB, like early adult relationship, but it feels far more genuine because here you are that you can advance those stories yourself and how they interact with you, even like choosing who you're romancing. And you can be a total man slut, by the way, and just like romance all the girls. And then you have to feel bad about it. And not in this one. That's Persona 5. There are only girls in this one, I'm pretty sure.
I mean, geez, there are some things that happen, like the hospital.
Doesn't you can't romance the adult women in this one.
You cannot.
No, it kind of was
the
the
creepy,
other way around.
You can't romance the creepy teacher.
No, not this one. Like the nurse, she seems like it, but you can't get down with the nurse. I know a lot of people want to, but you can't.
No, wait, whoa, hold on. Okay, did we play the same fucking game? Because like,
yeah,
the nurse definitely just like straight up sexually assaults you.
Whose social link is that in?
Devil,
yeah.
I have not found the devil social link either time I played this.
Seriously?
Yeah.
That is hospital.
That is another one of the things I love about this game. Let's see. Let me count them. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I maxed out 11 social links. And then you can say something like that, and I'll be like, I'm sorry, what? Because did we play the same game? Yes, and also no.
Yeah, so that means you never found death either.
Oh yeah, the old lady.
No, the only
so you missed out on 2 social links.
Yeah, at least a couple. The only like not my party social link that I went down, other than Dojima and Nanako, was Yumi, which is the girl from the theater club.
What about the what about the new stepmom?
Temperance.
Yeah, the Temperance link.
Who's new stepmom?
The one of the kids that you watch at the daycare. Like if you do the daycare job.
Nope, never did that. Didn't do the daycare at all.
Did you get towers?
I don't think so.
When you're the tutor?
Nope, didn't do any tutor. As I said, there's so much. Like, this is one of the things I love about the Persona games is we played the same game and yet had totally different experiences because of who we chose to spend time with.
Yeah. I'm not even gonna lie. I purposefully took like every opportunity that came up to go like work the night shift at the hospital to see how that was gonna turn out. I think I got that one so far. I think that one's like level 8 or something like that. Like I really went in on that one. It starts off like, I mean, we're gonna obviously talk about some of these things, but like this is one of those ones where I was like, this feels gross. This is a little gross because like she is an adult woman and it is very clearly implied that she definitely does some things with you at the hospital. And then feels bad about it afterwards and questions her life choices.
Look, this is Japan. Japan sees things differently.
There was a lot
of things differently.
There was a lot of, hey, this is creepy. I think I've mentioned Teddy. Just almost everything with Teddy.
Let me come to the defense of Teddy real quick, because I do think this is a game I think like where all the characters in your party have some sort of they're socially awkward in different ways.
Yeah.
I think that's almost a running theme. They're very socially awkward. And there is no exception to Teddy. So if you pay attention to what Teddy's arc is Teddy is someone who lives within the TV. So his entire idea of how it is to behave appropriately and how to behave in a manner that is accepted by humans is what he views through the lens of TV. So media has 100% informed what he thinks is acceptable and unacceptable.
That is,
take that for what you will.
Yeah, he's wrong, but I can understand why he's wrong.
Yes. And also his party members accept it for whatever reason. So
I would say to quote myself from before we started recording, I'm going to do the thing. I'm going to not do the thing that I criticize people for. They barely tolerate him. Pun absolutely intended there. And I will say it to you guys again and to anyone else who comes on. Damn it, cowards, intend your puns.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny is like Yasuke is the only one who like ever calls him out on his shit. And Yasuke is like the other character that people consider to be the second most problematic character in this game. And he's the only one who ever calls out Teddy.
Because Teddy makes him look bad.
That's true. I mean, there are a couple of times where the girls are just like, hey, Teddy, could you like stop talking about trying to score with us? That'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. These words, I don't think you know what these mean.
Could you stop always trying to see us naked, please? For just a moment, please.
Yeah. Oh, what was it when they were at the beach? They're at the beach and he's like, oh, now it's time for the wardrobe malfunction. It's like, God. And it ends up being kanji.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of sophomore humor for sure. I think it's appropriate though, because this is the way it's written is very much for what would be considered comedic for someone like a sophomore in high school, like around that age. This is high school humor. This is this is something I really appreciate about this game, is that it's almost writing it as these teenagers would behave as if they were teenagers. Yeah. And it doesn't really hold anything back. They behave very much like I would expect a teenager in 2008, 2009 to behave. They act very much like teenagers did when I was in high school. They probably still act like this in high school today. Just this is what teenagers do. And I appreciate that. Like there isn't really any adult kind of conversations going on. It doesn't really try to tone anything down. I know that's some people would say that's for worse. There's some issues there. Some people don't care. Some people find it hilarious. I'm one of those people. Sorry. It's like I personally wouldn't want it any other way. And I know a lot of people would say that there's problems with it. I know, and this kind of ties into like we know the game is being remade, and there's some discussions about how it should be discussed modernly, because there are some things that people would say have not aged well. I would argue it just needs to relatively just like leave it untouched. It is of its era. It is exactly how I could see things being during that time, especially if they keep it the same year.
Yeah, I mean, there are certainly things that wouldn't get made now if they made it now. But once again, you said that really well. The dialogue feels like high schoolers written by high schoolers, not high schoolers written by adults.
Yes.
Which, as an adult, sometimes makes me feel uncomfortable. But that doesn't mean it should change.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that's one of the kind of tying back to what I said at the beginning of the sort of like plot and writing discussion. I genuinely think that that's a big part of what makes this game really what it is, and why it stands out, because it is written from the perspective of these high school aged kids, and it's writing about things that high schoolers deal with. It's talking about confusion regarding sexuality, or confusion regarding what am I going to do with my life after high school? My parents have these expectations of me, but I don't know if I want to do with that. Or, maybe I want to do something else with my life. It touches on all of these things that are very real and very relevant to almost everyone, when you were that age, you dealt with probably at least one of those things. And honestly, I think it would be doing a disservice to alter or to sanitize any of that in the name of, political correctness / like modern sensibilities, because I think it's saying things that we've all experienced. And yes, they are uncomfortable, but that's kind of the point.
Oh, for sure. And we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I hope that they keep everything kind of intact. I haven't seen anything that indicates that they would otherwise, but
I mean,
sure,
I have seen that a bunch of the voice, most of the way I saw this confirmed that it was going to be made is that a bunch of the voice actors shared that they were not invited to come back. Specifically the English voice actors.
Really?
I may have been playing this for quite a while, and Reddit has decided I need to see everything about the Persona 4 subreddit. And there was like 3 or 4 days where it was just like all of these voice actors were like, nope, not coming back for that. Nope, not coming back for that. Before it was actually announced that it was happening.
Did they say why they didn't want to come back?
The way that I remember reading it was that they were not invited back.
That's interesting. I don't like that. And I think because we'll get there, but I think they did a great job.
And as I said, this is how I remember very briefly reading a series of Reddit posts like a month ago. So take that with like not a grain of salt so much as like a bucket of salt.
Sure. I'll take the whole mine.
Yeah.
So not confirmed. We're not confirming things, but if that was on Reddit, then it was on Reddit. If they were not invited back, that's weird. That is extremely weird.
Especially because it was several of them.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Now, one of the things that was cool about the plot and writing, Shane, you probably didn't see this, and this. I'm not trying to dig on you. I'm just saying you probably didn't see this.
Fine. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
No, Chris. He hasn't seen it yet.
That's true. He hasn't seen it yet. So take this as a little spoiler for you, Shane, because the listeners are getting spoilers. So shall you. What I found interesting now in Golden, you get a character named Marie in there, which I'm not a big fan of personally, at least at first. But what I did think was cool is that sometimes in your school lectures, they have these stories, and normally these stories don't go anywhere. They don't really mean anything. Sometimes they do. They tie to the plot loosely or whatever the case might be. I think they did in 3. I'm pretty sure they did in 5, but in 4, they're going over Japanese history, and they're telling the story of Izanami and Izanagi, and how Izanami she died. She went to the depths of, and Izanagi went to the depths of hell to reclaim her. But when he found her, she was a monster, and he had to run away from her and sealed her in a cavern while she cried about the fact that she couldn't stare at him. He couldn't look her in the face. And because he wouldn't let her out because she was in this monster's form, that she would claim human life every day for the rest of eternity. And he said, well, because if you're going to do that, I'm going to make sure that they continue to procreate and they multiply faster than the rate that you can kill them. Was essentially the deal that they made in this story. I might be getting some particulars wrong, but whatever the case might be.
No, that's the general. That's the general shape of it. Yeah.
And you're thinking, oh, this is just a throwaway story. But at the end of the game, Marie is she's like, I can't find my memories. Marie is Izanami. And a part broke off from her that is causing all of the death in Inaba. And the excuse is, I just want to fulfill the wish of humans. The character, the persona that you start out with at the beginning of the game is Izanagi. So I think I don't know if they're brother and sister or lovers. Not both, by the way. They're not both.
No,
they're one or the other.
No, this is Japanese mythology of like their old gods. I think it might be both.
It might be both. Okay. So maybe it might be both. But you are Izanagi.
This is both ancient history and the gods. Rules don't apply. Like,
true. They're under different rules. Just let's be clear. But you go, yeah, I mean, that's I think like it's telling you kind of how the end of this game is going to play out without telling you that. And I think once you realize that, if you're paying attention, because the overall plot, once again, it's not is secondary to the personal stories that you're experiencing along the way. You may not be noticing these things, which is it's really cool.
Now, I will say, so the first time I played it, I didn't really interact with Marie very much.
Mm-hmm.
And so I missed her whole part of that. And so you just see the Izanagi part of it. Then this time I played through, I'm like, no, I know Marie is the golden character. Like, this is the stuff that was added. Let's see what they put in with her. And I kind of figured out where it was going pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that like I'm super smart or anything. I feel like once you get a couple of ranks into her social links, it's kind of all spelled out right there, because especially I feel like they tell that story and then she plays a couple of big roles. She has a couple of big scenes, and then you start digging into her social links and it's like, hey, this is them messaging that. Now,
yes.
Speaking of messaging and things, calling this a murder mystery game is a little funny, because I don't feel like they actually, a lot of the times with a murder mystery, all the clues are there. An attentive reader can solve it. I knew the ending going in because I played it before. So I'm looking for the clues, who done it. And I don't feel like they're very there. I feel like the threads are only really tenuously there.
I think they do shove in your face. Like, they try in a subtle way to, like, Adachi knows more than he's supposed to.
Well, yeah, but until they start shoving it at you, I don't feel like they did enough to lay the groundwork to make it an obvious thing until the game just starts waving the signs at you of, hey.
Yeah. I actually think that the overall resolution to Adachi being the actual killer, and you know how they like have all these false potential killers along the way, I think like it gets kind of old, because you're in the middle of the game when you're going through the void quest for the copycat killer, and then you get Namatame, and it's like, this is a little weird, like it doesn't make sense, but sure, whatever, I buy off on it. And then like the ending just gets like when you find out who done it, as you put it, it gets overly convoluted to the point where like it feels like they're trying to force the twist in too hard. I think that's a legitimate criticism of how this winds up with Adachi being the killer. Like, you have to go through some very specific dialogue choices in order to even unlock the true ending. And it's kind of telling you that's the case, but at the same time, it's not really driving you to that conclusion, other than the fact that in the first half of the game, Adachi just happens to know a little too much information. Well, he's part of the police force, so yeah, but he's telling you a little bit too much of the information too often.
I just
but
thought
then
he was
you find
an
out
idiot.
that he doesn't really know it's you.
Well, that's exactly the thing. He's supposed to look like an idiot.
Yes. But he's like the reason he's an Inaba is because he behaves inappropriately at his previous station, and he's one of the smartest detectives on the force. Like, he's a very intelligent person.
He's too smart to be as dumb as he plays.
Exactly. And so he's deliberately leaking information to you to test and see who you really are. That's the whole entire premise.
Yeah.
But I do think it gets way too wrapped up in its own shit.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was very well executed.
There are also just an absurd number of endings.
Yes.
If you don't mind, I'd like to go through them.
Yeah, go
briefly.
ahead. You earned it. You saw all of them. Let's do it.
So I saw all but one of them on this playthrough. The one I didn't see on this playthrough is the ending I naturally did the first time. And so I'm going to call it's the worst ending. And that is you kill Namatame. It is the worst ending. I played it and I cried. And then it upgrades to the bad ending, where you don't kill him, but you don't really do anything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's almost as bad. And then you get the good ending of not killing him, and you push your investigation forward. You point out that it's Adachi. You finish the game. You move on.
Well, you point out what happens if you point out it's Adachi, but you protect him. That's another ending.
No, you don't point out that it's Adachi at all. You figure it out, but don't point it out. That's the accomplice ending. And honestly, the accomplice ending sucks. It didn't feel very satisfying. I played through it, and it doesn't It feels like it built it up a whole bunch and then didn't pay it off.
That makes sense.
Because it feels inauthentic. You spend all this time with these friends trying to figure it out, and then you figure it out and decide to side with him. Like it just didn't feel like it didn't feel paid off very well.
Yeah, the relationship they built up with the Dachi, because that's how they were trying to do it.
But
it's like, well, he was so nice to me in Nanako. It's like, well, no, it wasn't that impactful. Sorry.
No, it wasn't. And then there's the golden ending, and that's the one that requires you have to get Marie maxed out. And I didn't think I was going to make it, but there's a couple of weeks where you can just like rapid fire do her stuff, and I did like half of her social links in like 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And that's got a special bonus dungeon that is very different than the others. It's called the Hollow Forest, and it's weird in a refreshing way because it was different. And then I have a problem.
Yeah,
I have
a
problem with the true ending. The
true ending or true golden ending?
I guess it's both. Because the only way to get the true ending is to just ignore the game's directions and not do what it tells you to do.
Yes.
It's like, here's the best ending. We don't want you to see it. For
very counterintuitive.
For being considered the canonical true ending of the game, make it so the only way you get it is to not follow directions. It feels like they don't want you to see it.
Yeah. Do you want to go home now? No. And then you have to there's no reason to say that you don't want to go home because the day before you leave, it's like, okay, you said goodbye, everyone. You want to go home now? And you're at that point, you're supposed to say no. The entire game, you've always been saying yes because why? There's nothing else to do. And so it completely, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, because if you say no, it's like, hey, too bad. Hey, too bad. Do it.
Yeah, like, hey, you just explored the dungeon. You want to rest. You need to go to your bed. Do you feel like going to bed? No. Well, guess what you're going to do right after this?
Go to bed.
You're going to go to bed.
Yeah. It is. So content-wise, the true ending is great. You go have a long discussion with God, get up God and or the devil, get into a fight, and convince them to, hey, fuck off. It's just the way that you have to, the hoops you have to jump through to get to it. For it being like the true ending of the story, I don't know. And maybe this is a genre trope that I'm not aware of because I'm not familiar with anime or JRPGs of that era. And so maybe someone who was familiar with those things at that time would be more likely to know, hey, it's a trope to not follow directions here or something. But as someone who played it once in 2017, 2018, and once now in 2025, it just does not feel intuitive. And I had to go look it up to figure out how to do it. Both times, actually, or I think I asked somebody.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And I think we'll get into this gameplay a little bit, but like you need a guide. You need a guide. You absolutely need a guide, I would say, in order to figure that out. I do want to say one last thing, unless Shane wants to add anything more to the story. I think we've kind of covered most of it. I don't want to go like beat for beat because we would be here. It's a 90-hour game. There's no way we're going to talk about everything. So if we didn't talk about your favorite thing, sorry. Well, there's two things I want to talk about.
If we didn't talk about your favorite thing, hit me up on Discord. I will continue talking about this for forever.
Exactly. There's three things I want to talk about. I don't want to say quickly, but it's probably not going to be quickly. The first thing is the thing about the boss. You said, is it God or is it the devil? One of the things is, yes, the final boss, the entities and the sub entities that are leading up to the final boss, are they evil? Yes, they are. So they are objectively evil. Well, subjectively, kind of. Because the thing is like they don't view what they are doing as evil. They view as what they are doing as the wishes of humans, and humans are driving them to do what they do. So like the human beings that are doing things, yes, they are evil and corrupt, but they're acting on behalf of these gods. They're just like, well, we're just trying to do what you people want to do. They're humanists, which if you kind of go like, I think Satan is in Christian mythology is viewed as like the ultimate humanist in a sense. Like, hey, we're just trying to do what you guys want to do. And if that's a bad thing, that's on y'all. Like, hey, that's not our problem. Like, this is what you all want. So like, eat a dick or whatever. But like, I like that perspective, even though like, yes, they have an objective that you want to prevent. Like very much of no, let humans determine the free will without your intervention. We can handle this. That's your perspective. There is no, you're weak humans. You need us. We're gods. So that's my perspective on the final boss. Did you get the same vibe from that?
Yeah.
And the Adachi boss, yeah. Which I appreciate it. Because it's a little bit more complex than evil. The other thing I want to talk about, what did you think about those big blocks of sections where you couldn't like go out in town and do anything because you had an event with your characters, with your party members? Because there was a couple of them when they like went camping or when they had an event that they had to prepare for at Junes, or they went on a field trip or whatever. What were your thoughts on those segments?
I feel like almost all of them had enough story beats going on that it didn't bother me. It's like, I don't get to go pick who I'm spending time with, but for this whole week, we're off camping for the school trip, and then there's story beat cutscenes here, or as you said, we're doing the thing at Junes, and so there's whole party story beats there, and so it may not have like moved any of the widgets forward. It was still telling more of the group's story.
Yeah, Shane, what did you think? Because I know you've experienced some of those.
Yeah, I did. I'm kind of of two minds about those, just sort of in general. On one hand, I think they serve as sort of like nice breaks from the general sort of gameplay loop that you do for the vast majority of the rest of the experience. And I do like that they are all pretty, or at least the ones that I've played, plot focused. So they are still moving things along. So they didn't bother me too much in that regard, or they didn't really bother me at all. I actually enjoyed them. But the thing that kind of got me about them, though, is they tended to kick my FOMO into overdrive because it's probably one of my biggest criticisms of a game like this, because at least a couple of times now you guys have said you need a guide. You need a guide if you want to do everything. That it fucking drives me up a wall. Like that sort of approach to games where it's just like, well, you're not really going to get to experience the whole thing if you're not following a guide. And I'm like, or how about I just play the fucking game? Like, maybe you should design your game in a way that I can experience what you meant for me to experience without having to essentially spoil the whole thing by reading about it first. How about that? And so I have 2 points for you.
2 points for you there. The first is, I think it is straight up impossible to see everything in one playthrough, which I kind of agree it is a design choice. It's not one I particularly love.
Sure.
But if you're thinking about the perspective of your choices matter, it's you've decided who to spend time with. And so you decided these are the people that are important, and you can see all of their stories. And then you play it again and pick other people whose stories are important. I would be a little more forgiving of that if it wasn't a 100-hour game.
True. Yeah. And at the very end of the game, your choices don't really matter. Not truly.
Well, I guess it matters. They matter as to what experiences you have in the game. They don't matter how the mechanics of the game play out. It doesn't change the plot, but it changes the experience you have with the game. When Shane, when you said, hey, did we even play the same game? Yes and no. Like, the big plot beats we're all going to see. But if you decided you're more interested in working at the hospital and meeting some creepy lady there, and I decided I wanted to go do theater, neither one of us is and I decided I wanted to go be in the theater. Neither one of us is wrong, and neither one of us didn't get the experience. Like, we still got, At the same time, like, I would love
Like, I get what you're saying. I just don't. I guess maybe the thing that irks me about it is part of it. You're right. Is that like, okay, cool, but like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to know life to play this game another 100+ hours to like see the rest of it or whatever. I'm not going to do that. And the other part would be like, I don't think that naming endings like, oh, well, this is the bad ending and this is the canonical one and this is the like sort of good ending. I guess the good bad monikers kind of bother me a little bit too, because it's like, I don't know, maybe I'm just being too picky about it because like to me that's communicating you did something wrong, right? Which is not necessarily true because like to your point, it's how you experience the game. So that shouldn't be wrong. There isn't necessarily, in my mind, there isn't any wrong way to experience a game like this because there are so many different potential threads and ways that it could play out, you know, depending on the choices that you do make. I guess my issue is I wouldn't want to like sort of categorize certain things as like bad or good, because to me, then that communicates, like I said, that if I don't get what is considered a good ending, then I'm like, oh, well, I fucked up somewhere, you know? Does that make sense?
I will say the worst ending is like the worst ending. The bad and the worst ending are bad endings.
Mhm.
But I also think narratively, it kind of ties into the whole entire aspect I was just talking about, like the final boss. The reason you get them is because of how you're acting on your desires as a character.
Mhm.
If you actively choose to kill Namatame, who you believe to be the murderer, that's like your impulse desire is revenge. Revenge first and foremost. Like nothing other than revenge and vengeance. And so you get an ending that is telling you this is your reward for having that mindset. This is what you get.
It sucks and everything's terrible.
Yes.
I will also say,
So
I think that the names of the endings are from the community and not necessarily officially from Atlas.
Mhm.
Other than the true and golden endings, mostly because the true ending is, I don't know, in other media, this is how they portray it having ended. And the golden ending is the ending they added in the golden version of the game. But as far as calling it like bad and good and worst and accomplice, those are nomenclature I picked up reading a bunch of guides, but I don't think that those are official names or from the devs.
Right.
Oh yeah, and the worst ending is horrible. Not in sense like it's a horrible ending, but it makes you feel horrible, and you should feel horrible for getting it.
And I did.
Well, so I guess at any rate, to kind of just cap off what I was saying there, like about the like little event things, the reason that it kind of kicked my FOMO into overdrive was just because I know that this is that kind of game. And so like, I think the thing that bothered me about them was more that it felt like it was taking away time that I needed to like go and try to, you know, continue building all of these different social links and following up on all these little side quests. And I was just like, but then at the same time, it was also like, oh shit, did I just hit like a milestone? Did I hit a point of no return? Because like, there's got to be one of those eventually, right? Where it's like, well, if you didn't finish this side quest for this random ass girl in the second floor hallway of the school or whatever, then you're never going to finish it because she's gone now or some shit, you know? Like, so that's the other part of it for me anyway.
Yeah. And that does happen with two characters. With Marie, if you don't max out her social link by December 21st, then you don't get the golden ending. And if you don't max out Adachi's social link by November 2nd, then you can't get the true ending.
Mm.
You can't.
And Adachi was a new social link.
You can't get the true ending, or you can't get the accomplice ending.
You can't get the true ending. Unless I'm wrong. That's
no. I think it's that you can't. I think it's that
six.
you can't get the accomplice ending unless you've maxed his social link out. I think you can still get the true ending because that doesn't require him like you talking with him,
hanging out with him. Yeah. Okay, that would make sense. But in terms of how I felt about those blocks, I felt a lot of the same way you did, Shane, because I came to a realization that I didn't unlock a social link. I was like, oh, okay, this is how I unlocked the social link. It was Kanji's. Kanji, because he's the only one of your party members other than Naoto that doesn't automatically start for you. You have to initiate the social link for Kanji yourself. And in order to do that, you have to talk to somebody on the second floor, and they'll tell you go to the practice building and talk to Kanji. Once you do that, it starts a social link.
Yeah, it's a pain in the
I
ass.
totally missed that.
Yeah. So I didn't realize that, and I never started Kanji's social link. And then it became August or something like that. I'm like, okay, I want to start it. And then it's like, okay, we're going to go on like 2.5 weeks of exposition where you can't access any social links. Ha 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 ha. I was like, motherfucker, I like Kanji. I like him in my party. and I can't get all of his special little abilities in order to romp around the dungeon. And you want to talk about some like camp bullshit or drag show or whatever, and I just want to like upgrade his social link. That's all I want to do. I don't care about this drag show. I mean, it's funny, but like I don't care about that. I like, give me his social link. And I did laugh my ass off at like all of them. They have funny things. Again, things that probably, are going to turn some heads when this game gets re-released soon, for sure. Definitely of its time. But yeah, I was like, I want it. Like, I had all this planned. What did you do?
Well, see,
what did you do?
See, this is what I'm talking about. Now you said this. I keep Kanji in my party because I really like using him in my party, and I have not unlocked his social link. And I was like wondering where the hell that was. And I'm in like August. So now I'm like, fuck, did I miss this forever now?
No, you just didn't unlock it. You did it wrong, Shane.
Great.
You did it wrong.
Awesome. Love that.
All right. Last plot story question, because we have covered a lot, and there's no way we're going to cover everything. That's impossible. Much like the game itself, on a singular playthrough. Waifu, did you get one? And who was it? Or did you get multiple? How'd you do this? Lyle, we'll start with you.
This is one of those things that playing it as an adult made me a little uncomfortable. Because on one hand, the character I'm playing is a teenage boy, but I'm not anymore. Luckily, they don't go very hard into the romance stuff. It's very superficial. Like, my junior high aged child has about as much experience with romance as they show on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
So the first time I played it, it was Yukiko. And then this time it was Chie.
Oh, okay. Which one did you like more? Which was the more fulfilling one?
I don't know.
If at all.
I don't know.
Okay. I
most certainly did not do the harem playthrough. Because that would make me feel like a terrible person. I am not saying that you're a terrible person for doing it. I would feel like a terrible person for doing it.
So I will say I am a terrible person for the reason and the way I did it and how I did it. So first of all, I only chose one of my party members, because if you choose multiple party members on Valentine's Day, if you romance more than one,
do you have a bad time?
It's not as bad as Persona 5 for the main character, but you feel worse as a human being if you have any connection to your characters, because you have to go one by one to all of your party members, take the chocolate they made for you, and then they say, I don't understand why you can't spend time with your girlfriend, but I understand. And you have to see them all say that to you. So I only chose one party member. Now my dog wants out. He's making noise. The other thing is if you romance the non-party members, you can still romance them and they're still your girlfriends, but you don't get any consequence for it. You don't get any negative feelings. So on Valentine's Day, you don't even have to talk to them. You don't have to see them. You don't have to see them or hear from them on New Year's. The only thing that happens to you is on New Year's, you get told, stop cheating. And then your girlfriend's like, cheating? What does that mean? I know you don't cheat on me. Like, you wouldn't do that. And it's just, that's the biggest consequence. So like primary waifu for me was Yukiko. And I do think they say some things. They say some things. When she says, it was New Year's, and you take her and they're like, what do you want to do? And she's like, yeah, you're like, hey, you want to come back to my place? And she's like, yeah, I'm just worried because if I get excited, I might mess up my kimono. Like,
oh, they certainly imply a whole bunch.
Yes, they do. I mean, you're not watching them bang or anything. This isn't Grand Theft Auto or Baldur's Gate. You're just like, it's implied that they might be doing some things. Okay. And some characters are imply more than others. I will say that too. But so that was my route. Is I went with Yukiko. Yukiko, best girl, but also the girl non-party member girls. Yeah, I definitely just wanted to see what they were about. Yumi is pretty manipulative. Yumi's not a good person, I don't think.
No.
She's a Karen in training.
Yes, I went the non-romance route with her. Mm-hmm. Much to her chagrin. She was not happy with me about that. And continued to tell me how not happy she was about it.
It's very manipulative. I'm going to turn my back to you. I love you. I'm going to turn my back to you because I don't want to see you walk away if you say no. And you can just walk away. Level 10 friendship connection. Just walk away from her.
Yep. Totally did that.
At the end of the game, when you talk to her, she's like, I'm going to hang out here. And I think I might get into the school board committee and be a student politician because I want to be in politics someday. And you're just like, not you. Not you. Well, maybe because you are manipulative and I wouldn't say manipulative. She does go through some serious shit for sure. I wouldn't want to be her. That'd be horrible. Yeah, it doesn't feel right. Oh, I feel icky talking about her in a little bit. She has some she has some serious unresolved issues. You do not romance her. Do not romance her. She needs to figure things out. I'll just put it that way. That's my personal opinion. Shane, waifu.
Yes. I am also Team Yukiko. I just don't like. I don't dislike Chie. Like I don't know. She's like, as far as like, potential romantic option is concerned from Yu's teenage boy perspective. I feel like I have to couch it in all of this because otherwise I feel weird. But like, I don't know. Wasn't doing it for him. Yes, him. But yeah, no, I went. Yes, him. Went with Yukiko.
You can say you. His name is you. Wasn't doing it for you.
Yep, for you.
For you.
So the other interesting thing is I just realized that I don't think, and maybe this happens later, but like I don't think I'm gonna get the option to even have like any opportunity with like Yumi because I did not choose the drama club.
Oh yeah, chose the other one. I like it. Yeah.
Ayane. Yeah.
Okay. There you go, people. If you want to know our taste in waifus, vicariously through a 17-year-old boy, there you have it. There, I tried to cover it for all of us. All right, so let's get into the gameplay now. The gameplay, just over a high-level view of this. This is a turn-based Japanese role-playing game, as they are affectionately called nowadays. It is also a dungeon crawler. I don't know if they're random or not. I know some dungeons aren't random. I don't know if all dungeons are random. I think they might be.
I think that they are random except for the floors with mini bosses.
Yes. Okay. I think that makes sense. Yeah.
Or there's a couple of floors where there's a gimmick on the floor. I think in Yukiko's castle, there's one where there's a switchback that keeps flipping around the camera angle and getting you all turned around.
Yep.
But other than that, I think they are relatively randomized.
Yeah, the gimmicky, they're randomized except for gimmicky levels.
Yes.
The levels of gimmicks. And you have a certain amount of time. You do have a time limit in order to accomplish completing these dungeons. If you not beat these dungeons within the set amount of time, then it's game over. You can equip certain items. You have different characters with different abilities. And if you find the weak point of an enemy, you get an additional turn, which is critical in order to beat the game. But by the way, also for critical attacks, but the enemy has the same capability against you. So that's the gameplay in a nutshell. If you played a JRPG, a turn-based JRPG, you probably will understand the hang of this. It's pretty simplistic. But let's get into the thoughts here. Shane, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the overall gameplay loop here?
Well, as the resident dungeon crawler ARPG aficionado, I guess, generally I enjoy this. I will say the actual dungeons themselves leave a little bit to be desired. Like thematically and aesthetically, they're great, but they are very, very simplistic. Like you're talking about like Final Fantasy 13 being a hallway simulator. Like this is just literally a bunch of hallways. Like every dungeon, at least that I've seen so far, in the 50 or so hours I've played, are just a bunch of hallways strung together, which kind of gets real samey real quick. But I think where the gameplay really stands out, at least in contrast to that, for me anyway, is the actual combat mechanics. I really enjoy sort of how the interactions play and like kind of figuring out the weak spots or weaknesses rather of the different types of enemies. And then sort of like leveraging my party to force those, extra attacks and things like that. Like the party group attacks. So not only do you get like an extra turn, but if you manage to knock down every enemy, so if it's just one, then the one, but if you knock down all of them, if there's a group, and you get a knockdown, like Chris said, by either doing a critical attack or by hitting their elemental weakness, basically, you get the option to do like this big group attack. And I love that. Like that, to me, that never gets old. Like I love the little, like, anime / like manga, like splash screen of all of your characters being like, hell yeah, we're going to do it. And then everybody dogpiling onto things. That's always fun. And I think I really like that sort of mechanic. Like I said, just figuring out like what the weaknesses are for the different types of enemies. And then so each character kind of has their own persona, which generally they all have a specific element that they're geared towards. But then you, as the main character and protagonist, can swap through up to eventually 12, or there may be more, I don't know, but I'm at 12 right now anyway. 12 different personas, and so you can sort of stack yourself in a way that you can cover a lot of bases, both from, just the persona type perspective, if you're talking like social link interactions, but also elemental types and attacks and things like that. And so you kind of are sort of like the pinch hitter where you can swap out when necessary to hit weaknesses. And I really like it. I think the combat is like engaging enough and just has just enough complexity that it's fun without being like too dense or obtuse or completely brainless. I think it does a pretty good job of kind of striking that balance, I think, between the two. So
yeah, Lyle, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you guys did a good job describing it and stuff. The incidental battles are, like, as you described, we'll say the mini bosses and boss battles can be a little more challenging, especially if you don't respect them and learn when to guard. I really enjoy the team up combos. I think those are always really fun to watch. The shuffle time mechanic was just weird. I don't know whether it was optimal or not, but I always shot for the completion bonuses to keep always getting shuffle time. I did something that going in I knew was silly by the time I realized I was doing it. I had a persona. It wasn't anything special. It was Ghoul. And I just kept putting all the upgrades into it, and I got this persona to have all maxed stats. Like, hey, there's a level up card, I'm taking the level up card. Hey, there's a skill, there's an ability level up, I'm taking that, to the point where at the end of the game, all of his stats were 999 or 999. And then I used some skill cards so that he was a pretty just generalist as far as which abilities he had. And I used that all the way through until the last dungeon, if you do, I don't know whether you have to have done the stuff with the dachi or not, but if you do certain things, you get an upgraded version of Izanagi or Izanami.
Yes.
Yeah. So I used that at the end.
Izanagi.
Yeah. By the time I realized I had been using Ghoul a while, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go all in on this silly idea. For absolutely no good reason. Like, I realized that there was no good reason behind it, and I did it anyway.
The Izanagi you get with the dachi is what I used to deliver the final blow on the final boss, by the way, because I thought that would be cute.
Poetic.
Yes.
But yeah, I do agree with Shane. The dungeons themselves are visually stunning for a PS2 game. The character designs are all really great, but they're just long for almost all of the dungeons feel longer than necessary. It's just like, okay, I just want to fight the boss and move on.
Yeah, I think I would tend to agree with that. They're not interesting enough to be as long as they are.
Yeah, like a lot of them are 8 to 10 floors. They could have been shorter than that.
I know we're not talking about that game, but I will say Persona 5 gets better, but doesn't solve that problem.
Yeah.
Like, the dungeons are more interesting.
No, yeah, that's true.
But there's more interesting. There's more to do. like navigating there. It's not Hallway Simulator 2008 anymore, but they're still just too damn long.
Well, one thing I like about the dungeons here, more than I like in Persona 5, and, take or leave, this is subjective, is that you can get done with the dungeons all in one day.
Yes.
So if, you go there, you can, especially if you level up the Fox to max level, and you get that steep discount on how much it costs to heal your SP. It makes it super convenient and easy in order to do that, especially if you keep getting the money upgrades in your shuffle times. Then it's pretty manageable, and then you can go back to leveling up your social links. And I think this is something that you pointed out earlier. Are the dungeons bad? No, I don't think the dungeons are bad per se. I think all the criticisms that both of you have levied against it, in terms of the sameness, in terms of just the hallways, just kind of continuing to move and opening up treasure chests and whatever. I think that I think those are very appropriate criticisms. I think the battle mechanics, they're okay, but a lot of my criticism of the battle mechanics are, if you don't know the enemy's weakness, you can be completely screwed. If you don't get the advantage right off the get, you can be completely screwed. This is a game that almost seems to demand that you know the weaknesses and how to manage those weaknesses prior to getting into a battle with an enemy you've never faced before. And that's kind of irritating, because every time you encounter that enemy afterwards, you know how to defeat it. So then it just becomes way too formulaic, and that can also become a problem. But making new personas, using those personas and taking advantage of the fact, that can be very empowering and fun. So in that aspect, I do enjoy it. But it suffers from another problem that you see in a lot of RPGs in general. A lot of RPGs, not just JRPGs, not just Western RPGs, all of them, where the beginning of the game is brutal. The most difficult part of the game is Yukiko's dungeon, where you don't have a lot of personas, you're relatively low leveled, and some of them don't even have weaknesses, and you may not have, you don't know what that means. You're like, what do I do? And of course, you're supposed to use the personas that have debilitating effects, like ailment effects, like panic, fear, stuff like that. But even then, it's still relatively, battles are long, drawn out, everything like that. Your cash flow isn't all that great, so upgrading your weapons doesn't necessarily mean anything, especially for the main character, because all your stats are determined by the persona that you currently have equipped. So that's a little different too. But the beginning of the game is probably the hardest part of the game. And as you keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper, and you know if you learn how to manipulate your personas correctly, by the end of the game, the optional dungeon, Marie's dungeon, for me was a cakewalk. The final boss was a joke of that dungeon.
It was doubly so for me because so when I played Adachi's dungeon, I got all the way to the end and then got to the second phase of that fight and got one-shotted because I didn't get my timing right. And that happened 4 times. And I'm like, screw this. And I turned the difficulty I played the rest of the game on just regular, medium, normal, whatever they called it. Just this is the way it comes. And then I turned it down to easy because I'm like, okay, I want to see the end of this story again. I'm just turning the combat down to simple. And then it was almost too far. I almost turned it back up because the last dungeon, the last boss, I 2 turns or something. But it's because I had everybody's third phase persona unlocked. And so I had their super mega abilities. And so you use Chie's mega ability, gives you a huge boost, and then just punch. not just rush, but I used God's Hand, the biggest physical attack thing, and you just melt things with that.
Yeah.
Kanji
too with was it Primal Force and Power Charge? It's just okay. Game over, man.
Power charge, physical attack. Power charge, physical attack. A couple of boosts. Done. Yeah.
And the game just becomes, I don't want to say mindless. It doesn't become mindless because you do still have to pay attention to everything that's going on. But it's just because you're going to learn. If you know how to manipulate your personas by that point, you're going to learn.
Yeah.
The encountering the monsters in the dungeons was a little irritating too. I do like the fact that it did cause that player advantage, because I do think that was really important in getting through it. I don't like the shadows in the treasure boxes, but hey, that happens, whatever. That's just part of RPGs. Bosses are largely hit or miss. The mid bosses I didn't care for.
I don't know how much you've experienced it, but because I know what it means, I had probably a half a dozen instances of genuine panic because I started hearing the chains rattle.
Yes.
Hey, Shane, if you continue to finish this game, if you're bopping around in a dungeon and you hear the chains rattling, run.
Is that the thing that I thought
Get out of there.
sounds like it almost sounds like a wintry breeze or something? Like, what? Is that what that is?
No, it sounds like chains.
It sounds like
okay,
chains.
well, I guess I don't know what that, because I keep hearing this sound when I'm in the dungeons. Like I said, it sounds like a winter wind or something, or like ice crackling, and I can never figure out what it is.
That's the Reaper.
Yeah, it's the Reaper, and it's this optional, only you're not the one with the option, monster that if it thinks you've been in the dungeon on a given floor too long, it starts to chase you, and if you're not specifically prepared to fight him, he will fuck you up.
Oh, okay.
Isn't he in the treasure chest too?
He might be. I didn't actually experience him
What's
in
this-
this playthrough because every time I heard the chains, I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
fuck it, I'm out. Bye.
But there's
Because-
treasure chests where it's like, this is, do you find you see a terrifying presence in here? Do you want to open it? I've never said no. I never said yes.
Yes. I saw that when I tried a New Game Plus run a couple of years ago.
Mhm.
This is a random aside, so pardon me for just a moment. When it was first announced that this was coming to Steam, I forget what the exact process is, but there is some shenanigans you can engage in that will allow you to export your Vita save and import it into Steam. I think this requires 3 or 4
Oh.
levels of shenanigans to do that. Like, I think you have to have
I believe
jailbroken your Vita, and I think it requires like 3 or 4 levels of shenanigans. But it was levels of shenanigans I had already done. And so I was able to import my Vita save from a specific point into Steam.
Mhm.
And I was doing a New Game Plus run, and I did find one of those treasure chests. And yeah, it's like you sense a terrifying presence. Do you want to open this? If you're not particularly prepared for that fight, the answer is no.
Yeah, never. I'm never prepared. I'm only prepared for what I can prepare for. If I don't know what that is, I'm not prepared for it.
Yeah.
But I didn't fight the Reaper. This playthrough. I know my youngest son, he played Persona 3 Reload. He fought the Reaper, but he also said that that game is completely broken at the end of that game. So I don't know. It has nothing to do with this one, but there are certainly Reaper tactics. That is for sure. One of the things I did like, the bosses, I liked the bosses. I found that they were challenging. I thought that you had to pay attention. I like that, like, they, outside of a few of them, they didn't have any weaknesses. Not the mid bosses. The mid bosses in this game kind of suck. But like the bosses, especially in the first half of this game. As I already said, like the latter half of this game, you're so overpowered, it doesn't really matter anymore, especially if you know what everyone's abilities are and how to utilize them. It just becomes kind of typical. But like the first half, when you don't have everything, like the bosses are great. The boss battles are balanced. There's some panic to it. There's item management, resource management, all that stuff. I think they're fantastic.
Mm-hmm. I agree with all that.
Okay. Last thing I do want to mention too, like I kind of mentioned this already, and you both alluded to this. Lyle, you directly said it. The dungeons are not the star of the show. You'll spend a lot of time in there, for sure. You'll spend a lot of time in the dungeons because the dungeons just take a lot of time. But the dungeons are almost a barrier for you getting back to the daily events. Like the entire point is like, game. I want to get through the dungeon so I can get back to social link. Exactly. It starts out as kind of like the main attraction. Like the game is like, this is what the game is. Here's the dungeon. Here's how, like, because everything around that is oriented. You build the social link so you can get the persona, and you want the better persona so you can better fight. But then it becomes, as time goes on, like the dungeons become less and less important. You're like, well, I want to get past the dungeon so I can get back to the social links. They're like, this dungeon's stupid. I know I'm going to take care of this dungeon. They're like, I'm just going to get past it. So in terms of that gameplay, that's fine. Biggest criticism. Okay, this is where I'm going to get you on board here, Shane. It almost feels like this game demands you use a guide to play it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much that it demands, it expects you to use a guide to play it. This is because of the way it asks you questions in the classroom in order to increase your knowledge. This is like the way that it has your the choice of like a dating sim in order to advance your social links, and how some social links can cancel permanently if you get the wrong answer. Some social links can reverse if you choose the wrong answer. And if you don't know this, I mean, if you want to go in blind, by all means, like you can do that. And I guess like in some spaces like, well, the developers wanted you to go in blind and they wanted you to try things out. They wanted you to do this.
Hey, guess what? I don't give a shit what they wanted.
Exactly. Like if I'm in a conversation with a character that I want to advance a social link with, and it's like one answer will give me 3 like points, the other one's going to give me 1 point. I want to know what's going to give me 3 points, because I don't want to keep like doing the event over and over again where it's not advancing my social link and I have to keep building points while I'm taking away time from spending time with someone else that I want to advance their social length. But the only reason I don't know is because there's the answers are cryptic as hell. And I like, what do you want me to do? Like I didn't go full, like plan it out. I didn't do that. But I every single time I had a meeting or an answer or anything like that, the guide had to come out. And I did not like that. I did not like that. I had to say that.
I don't disagree with that at all. Because listen, me personally, I can do having awkward conversations that don't get me what I want in real life. That's not what, like, I want to have a player fantasy of actually being good at things. And also it's like, here, pick one of these 3 dialogues. None of those are what I want to say. So I might as well look up which one is going to get me the outcome that I want anyway.
Exactly. Shane, you have told me that you are not playing this game with the guide. How has your experience been, and what is your impressions on that position?
I mean, well, up until this point, I've felt like I've been kind of doing all right managing on my own. But now that you guys are bringing up all these things I wasn't aware of, now I'm not sure. I could be totally fucking it up for all I know. I didn't know that there were point values assigned to the different like responses. Now that's a thing I can't unknow now. So that's cool.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean it's been fine.
If you have the proper persona, you get more points. Yeah.
Well, that part I know. So I've definitely been like min-maxing that one because
that's because it directly tells you that.
Well, yeah, and so I've been doing that one as best as I can. Like that. Honestly, I think for the most part, that's kind of the extent of my like planning, such as it is going into like, you know, interactions with people to build social links, is just making sure that I at least have the right persona like on hand at the time. But that's kind of it. I mean, I think this is one of those cases where like ignorance definitely is bliss for the most part, because like I haven't really felt with the exception of like what I was talking about earlier with some of the events and just sort of that overarching knowledge of like, oh yeah, like I may very well miss being able to complete some of these things. Apart from that, I haven't really felt like anything was suboptimal or like unnatural, which I guess is a point in the game's favor, that I haven't been using a guide at all with the exception of the questions in the classrooms. Those I just straight up Googled because I was like, okay, I clearly need to answer these right. But apart from those, I haven't used a guide for anything, and it's felt pretty organic. So yeah, no, I think it's been kind of good. I'm just going to willfully not think about and stick my head in the sand about all of the min-maxy bullshit that's going on in the background. And I feel like maybe that's for the best, you know?
You're not wrong.
Yeah. You're playing this the way the developers intended you to play, Shane.
Well, great. I'm glad. I will say, since we're still in the gameplay section here, that I did just want to make a point of saying that I was pleasantly surprised with how the persona like fusion system works, because and I think I mentioned this to you, Chris, but I was really concerned that it was going to be purposefully like obfuscated, like when you go into it and it was just going to be like, yeah, I don't know, man, just like fuse some shit and find out what happens, because I would have hated that. But I'm really glad that it doesn't do that, where at the very least with the I'm going to get into this in a second, because I wish that it would do something like one step further than it does. But what it does do is at the very least, you've got the personas on hand and you can kind of take a look at those and it'll tell you like, hey, if you like fuse this with this, you're going to get this. And here's what it's going to look like. And, you know, so there's a pretty like exhaustive list you can go through to kind of get an idea of what you can make. So I do like that. However, I really wish, and maybe I'm missing something, and if I am, I'd actually be happy, but I really wish there was a way to just see all of the combinations, like not being limited to like just the ones that you currently have summoned. Like I wish that I could just go to a persona and it'll just tell you, it'll just give you like a list or a matrix of just like, hey, with this persona, you can fuse with this other one or these other 2 or 3, and it's going to give you this, because then I could better like plan out kind of like what I want to do with them. But you can't really easily do that as far as I've found. So am I missing something, or is that just not the case?
I think it kind of goes the other way, where you can get a full list of the personas that exist, and then the ways you can get that. So it's kind of backwards of what it sounds like you're looking for.
Okay, so wait though, because like I know that there's the full list, and like if you haven't discovered one yet, it's just a bunch of question marks. But are you saying that there's some like sub menu or some shit in there where like if you go to one of those, like do you have to have already discovered it to find that?
I don't remember the answer to that.
Yeah, because like I think that's the thing is like the full list, you can go and look at it, and if you haven't ever encountered that particular persona, it's just a bunch of question marks and a silhouette. And I didn't see a way to say like, hey, how do I get this? Like, I don't think there's that option, or at least I didn't see one. And that's kind of what I was looking for is like, yeah, I know I don't fucking have it. Just tell me how to get it. And then that way I can focus on like, oh, I need to go and summon this and this so that I can make this one, you know, and there seems like that part's missing. So I wish that that was there. All things being equal, it's definitely way better than I thought it was going to be, which, like I said, I thought it was just going to be a big middle finger and just be like, I don't know, man, just experiment. That's fun, right? And I'd be like, it is not. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the arcana of the persona and how they fuse determines the outcome of the arcana, generally speaking.
Mhm.
That's the driving factor is how that turns out. So if you have one of those matrices where it shows all the combinations and what will mix with what, you may not get the exact persona, because like there's some combinations which are pretty cool. Like I don't remember the specific personas, but if they don't mesh well, like if they're rivals in their respective lores, you can't combine them, which I found really cool. For the most part, like if you take one from the Strength Arcana and you combine it with the Chariot Arcana, you get a certain arcana every single time it comes out. That's generally how it works in the Persona series. It's almost like there's a lot of Pokemon in it. Now, not saying that does do they do that in Pokemon? I don't know. I haven't played Pokemon in ages. But there's like that kind of thing. Like you take part A, part B, and you're going to get part Y, and every single time you're going to get that. So may not get the persona you're looking for, but you are going to get the arcana that you're looking for. That makes sense.
Yeah, I still don't like that. Like that, and I think that's the completionist part of me where I'm just like, no, I want to like get all of I want 100% my compendium. And it seems like that's where a lot of these sort of like trial and error part comes in, is like, yeah, I mean, this will probably make that maybe, but you know, fuse some shit, I guess, and maybe find out. Because it seems like it boils down to like, I have to just sort of pick like or randomly select, like a persona that I already have so that and summon it so that it is like air quotes active and like on me to be able to then go and look at the fusion list based on what personas I currently have summoned, which will then tell you, okay, here are all the combinations you can make. And I guess it's that guesswork portion that I don't really like. Like I Just give me a fucking recipe book, man. That's what I'm asking for.
No, I get that. I didn't have that problem. I just was like, I just want more powerful shit. Give me more powerful shit. I just made more powerful shit and didn't even. This is like.
I mean, yeah. I mean, if that's all you're concerned about, then yeah, it's fine. But I'm like, I want all the compendium, and that's the part that kind of irks me. However, I do really like the fact that you can re-register your personas, and so like, if you're listening to this and you're like, what the fuck does that mean? Basically, the first time you get a persona, it just gets like registered your compendium automatically, I believe. But then if you change that persona in any way, like you level it up, it gains new skills, you give it new skills, whatever, you can re-register it to your compendium, and the entry for that persona will then just reflect whatever the stats and abilities, et cetera, were for that persona now that you've like, enhanced it or upgraded or whatever. And I really like that because there's that feeling of progression there of like, hey, I already discovered this, but then I can also like sort of incrementally improve it and then sort of like record and save that progress to be able to resummon that persona at a later time with all of the stuff that I registered it with. So that I really do like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that too. All right. Are you ready to move on to graphics, the graphical presentation?
Yes. Although one last thing, I really like it when Yosuke fucking just comes out of nowhere on his moped and crashes into shit in battle. That is fun. That's all.
It is fun. Yes.
Yes. I like their follow-ups, getting their abilities. Yes. All right. Let's get into the graphical presentation here. It's fine. It's fine. I mean, this is a 2008 PS2 game. It does not look better than Final Fantasy X. It's not trying to. It has a different graphical style. I will say that the style that they chose looks great.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way that it presented itself is fantastic. And I say it's a PS2 game. I'm not trying to say it's a PS Vita game because this was originally a PS2 game. The Vita, yes, it's cleaner than what the PS2 had a little bit. But ultimately, if you compare it against its contemporaries when it came out on the PlayStation 2, it's a design choice. I'm not going to say it's going to wow you in terms of its graphical presentation, but it makes the correct choice in how to present itself to the point where it looks very good. Is it a technical achievement? I would say no, it's not. The characters don't look like the character models are not the most advanced character models that you're going to find on a PlayStation 2 or on a PlayStation Vita. They're relatively basic, but they're not rudimentary. They are highly serviceable and get the job done for what it's trying to accomplish. I'm not trying to say that is a slam. That's not a slam. I think that it looks great. I think it looks fantastic, but not like on a technical level. I just think all the being bright and colorful for the most part, you're an Inaba, or being dark and brooding, like it knows how to nail its atmosphere correctly. I will say the dungeons, and this was brought up in the gameplay by Shane, it gets very samey after a while, and there's very few dungeons where they shift it up to change the environment, but even then they don't change it really up enough to really like not notice that it's just a color palette change. Like the dungeons are probably the weakest part of this game's graphical presentation outside of a few notable ones like the Void Quest, the 8-bit castle, which I thought that was fantastic. And I thought Heaven, Nanako's or Namatame's dungeon, also like that entire level was a vibe. That was an incredible level design wise all around. But aside from that, they're kind of boring, I would say. Outside the initial impact, outside of the initial presentation to the player. And I think it is because they go on too long. Yeah, I think like its length does hurt the graphical presentation. That's my thoughts on the graphics. What do you think, Lyle?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of nailed it. I think each one of the dungeons looks unique, looks good, but does not change at all during the dungeon. I think visually the showpieces are the bosses. Each boss is detailed, is absurd looking. It's over the top. All of them. Honestly, I think visually the least impressive is probably the second phase of Adachi's fight, because it's just like, what if the Epcot ball was mad at you?
Yeah. Big eyeball. Yeah.
But otherwise, I think like the designs of the bosses are great. Visually, a lot of the some of the moves look great, especially the follow-up moves, and some of those animations are really cool. But otherwise, it's fine. It's a perfectly serviceable game from a visual perspective. It does what it needs to do. It creates a vibe. But they're not flexing their technical chops. Like, that is not the place they were showing off.
No, not at all. Definitely does feel like a bit of we're at the end of the PlayStation 2's life, and we are making a game that's kind of saving a little bit of money on the technical aspect. A little bit of those vibes. Shane, what'd you think?
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where the technical prowess aspect doesn't really bother me at all. Like, I think this game completely like rides on its style, and I think it does it really well.
Yes.
I don't think there's I wasn't going into this looking for anything like, you know, overly impressive from a technical standpoint. I just really like the overall vibe of the game. So no, I don't really have too much to nitpick about it. I really like the visual presentation. I think it's done very well. I think all of the, and you made a good point too, as far as like the dungeons and some of the new areas are concerned, where it's like the initial impact is definitely the biggest thing, the biggest hit, where you're just like, oh, this is where we are now. Okay. Or, hey, this looks really cool. And then after that, it is a little worn down by the fact that it's like, oh, I get to grind through 11 levels of this. All right, cool.
Yeah.
I can only hear this woman whisper this weird thing into my ear about 1,000 times in this dungeon, but it's fine.
Each one looks cool, and you're like, okay, and now I spend the next 10 hours looking at this.
Pretty much, yeah. Oh, I will say, though, I really, really like the choices they made for the character models for the enemies. If you really look into it, like if you just breeze through and you're just like, yeah, I'm fucking killing things, it's like, okay, they're kind of oddball, weird enemies. But like, if you actually look at a lot of the names they give the enemies and then look at the character designs they've chosen, and then tie that into the dungeon that you happen to be in, and like think about what that particular person is struggling with, you know, and hence the whole persona and the dungeon and the reason you're there in the first place. There's a lot of really great like character design choices there to sort of like subtly and sometimes not so subtly communicate, you know, kind of like what is happening like psychologically with that person. So I think I really, really liked that.
I would agree with that, but in the later game, I think that kind of gets spoiled because you get so many recycled palette swaps.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's a bummer, but at least as far as I've gotten so far, they're all fairly unique, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning it's great.
Now it's a bear that's blue.
Ooh.
Your puns are unbearable.
Oh, come on, that's barely there.
Please stop.
I have to bear this burden of terrible puns. Shane's getting mad.
I'm dying.
Trying to think of another pun. I'm not that witty. Okay, some other things I want to give for the graphics, like Inaba itself is pretty basic, but what I do like is that the seasonal changes. I think I appreciate that. It does shift it up over the time that you're playing it for all that time, you know, over the 90 hours. Changing the scenery enough. I do appreciate that. I like how each environment is varied. There's enough attention to detail in every single environment to make it feel organic and real. But like from a technical standpoint, again, it's not the most impressive. This is a game about style. This is a game about just environmental setup and communicating that to the player. Like, it's not here to wow you. It's here to be functional and serviceable, and it does exactly that. And I think it does that extraordinarily well. It's not like Persona 5 that was designed to sweep you off your feet. That's not what you're going to get with Persona 4. You're just going to get a bright, colorful, well-designed game visually, in my opinion. Anyone else have any additional input on the visuals of Persona 4?
No, I mean, it's all the visuals are there to create a vibe, and they do a good job creating the vibes.
Yes, 100%. All right, now let's get into what a lot of people consider to be a very strong point for the Persona series as a whole, not just Persona 4. It's the sound design to include the music. I started off last time. Hey, Lyle, what do you think of the sound design of Persona 4?
This is such a loaded question. The sound. I'm going to split this. I'm going to split this up, and I'm going to talk about the sound design and the music separately.
Okay.
For the sound design, thinking about things like the sound effects of things, almost all of them are north of fine, but not phenomenal. There is one specific sound effect that drove me crazy. When Teddy is in your party, you could hear him like squeak along behind you. Like he's wearing rubber boots, and it just squeak, squeak, squeak. And I'm just like, oh my God, you damn bear. Stop. Other than that, I thought like doors open, doors close. The fire stuff sounds like
don't bury
feels
the
like
lead,
fire.
Lyle.
The fire stuff sounds like fire. The ice stuff sounds like ice. The lightning sounds like lightning. Punches. Okay, punching doesn't actually sound like punching when they do the pile-on thing, but it sounds like the Batman comic book version of punching. So overall, the voice acting I enjoyed. I only know the English voice acting from the golden version, and I thought all of it was good. I didn't notice any of it that felt like stand out bad. But for me, the absolute gem here is the music. I don't know if there's a single track on this album that I don't like. When the game looked like it was poised to win the Patron poll before it had ever actually won, but it was fairly close. I installed it, I started the game, and just hearing the title screen music choked me up again. All of it is just, I mean, we just said everything was about setting a vibe. Every vibe they set with the music works. It's got this background bittersweet. All of it is bittersweet the whole time. The music is, for me, is the absolute, it's almost as standout as the storytelling. I love the music in this game. If you look right now on my phone, my alarm clocks are either a song from Persona 4 or a song from Persona 5. It wakes me up every day. It is either A Corner of Memories, which I believe is the Velvet Room theme, and the other song I've had regularly is Wake Up, Get Out There.
By the way, music composed by Shoji Meguro, who pretty much composes all of Atlus's mainline music nowadays. I don't know what he hasn't composed for Atlus recently. Maybe the actual Shin Megami Tensei games? I don't know. He probably does those too.
Is he on Metaphor?
Yes.
Okay. I just barely started that, and then I got down this rabbit hole.
Yeah, he doesn't do the Shin Megami Tensei proper. Well, I can't even say proper anymore because they dropped that from. He doesn't do the Shin Megami Tensei music. But I think he did like Devil Summoner. He did Metaphor. He's done Persona. So he's done a lot. He does a lot for Atlus. All right, Shane, what did you think about the sound design?
Yeah, it's great. The music is fantastic. I think I made a little bit of a jab at the burlesque. I'm gonna go with Burlesque Club. Let's go with that. The Gentleman's Club with that one and that like repeating like whisper phrase. But I mean, if I'm being honest, like all of the music is just fantastic. As far as the voice acting goes, I made a different decision. And that was entirely driven by the fact that I couldn't fucking stand Teddy. So I started playing the game with the English VA. And then I was like, wow, I really don't want to understand the words that are coming out of that fucking bear's mouth because they're really annoying all the time. So then I changed it over to the Japanese, and it was much better. Because, it's one thing to like have it repeated constantly in the most annoying voice in the world, but at least if it's in a language I don't understand, I can mostly tune it out. And that was like my entire rationale for changing the voice, the voice audio. And you know what? The other part of it too, and this kind of sort of goes into my general approach to like anime and things like that, is like I would generally, I'm more of like I'm a sub, not a dub person. I don't generally like dubs. I would prefer to hear the original voice actors and then just have the subtitles. That's usually the approach that I take. And so I kind of felt like it was appropriate here to kind of do the same, because there's just, again, this is just me, it's subjective, but comparing the two, especially considering I started playing the game with English and then swapped, I don't know how to describe it, but there's just something that I kind of feel gets literally lost in translation in like the way that the lines are delivered. I think that there's, to a certain degree, I almost feel like some of the characters' personalities, or at least the way you perceive them, can change depending on who you're listening to, right? Like who the voice actor is. And so I kind of felt that here, where like kind of doing a rough comparison between the two, I felt like I got, I'm not going to say, I mean, I guess it would be more authentic, but I won't call it that. But I think it's just, it's a little bit of a different vibe, since we're using that word so much, having the original like Japanese voice actors versus like the English sort of like translations. I feel like some of the characterization comes across differently, if that makes sense. So
yeah, it makes sense. Makes total sense. I went with the Japanese voice acting, one, because I don't think there was a choice in the original Persona 4 for the PlayStation 2. All you could get was the English one. And I will say, like, from what I remember, the English voice acting is fantastic. It's not, I mean, I haven't played it recently, but I remember it being very, very good. So nothing against the English voice acting there, but I think more for this, it's more appropriate because these are supposed to be Japanese students in a Japanese school in Japan. So I want to hear them in Japanese voices. Just me. If you like them in your English voices, I'm not taking anything away from you. But I think it's more appropriate. It's just, I think it fits the mood better. And that's again, no knock against the English voice actors. From what I've heard, are phenomenal. They're really good. Sound effects, I would agree with everything Lyle said. I don't really have much to add there. They're either really good or they're just there. One of the two. I don't mind the squeaking for Teddy, but I didn't hear it a lot because I put him in a different outfit. He wasn't in his Teddy outfit. He was in one of those costumes you can select on the equip screen. So I didn't have to see him in a stupid bear outfit because I don't like his bear outfit. I think it's dumb. That's just me. Maybe you like it, maybe you don't. I think it's dumb.
I mean, you can completely solve that problem by just never having him in your party.
He's a great party member. I'm sorry.
Did you find his outfit unbearable?
It was completely unbearable. I'd rather be picking berries than.
All right. Now you're stretching.
It's for you, Shane. In terms of the music, this is where I feel like I'm going to have some separation with people. Do I think the music is good? Yes, I think the music is very good. I think the soundtrack's phenomenal. Not every track and mood does it for me, though. Like, I think one of the problems with the music is that it just kind of overstays its welcome. It's not that it's a bad tune, but there's just times where you hear the same song over and over and over and over and over again, and it never really changes throughout the duration of the game. And again, just like the seasons that I mentioned with graphics, they do change it up for the seasons. Sometimes I don't think for the better, because sometimes, but I understand why they did it, because they didn't want to keep it repetitive for as much time as you're running around Inaba. But there's just sometimes there's some tunes where I'm just like, I don't care about this. And it's like when you're at lunchtime and a student walks up to you and they say, "Hey, do you want to hang out after school?" And they're like, I don't like that song. I don't know. I don't like the small things that just kind of irritate me with some of the tracks. I also didn't find like the dungeon music is hit or miss for me. I think because of how often you get into battles and how often it resets, it doesn't always capture as good as it can be. There are standouts. Again, Heaven's track is really good. I think it was Adachi's dungeon that had a really good track. Marie's dungeon had, like, the later dungeons were all good. I'll just say, like, the later dungeons were all good. The earlier ones, I think, were some of the weaker tracks.
I feel like the dungeon music absolutely kicks off, starting with Void Quest.
Yes, I agree. 100%.
The other ones are good.
Yeah.
The other ones are good, but it just, they're like, oh, let's turn it up.
So am I high on this soundtrack? Yeah. Am I as high as a lot of people are? No. I like, this is probably not my top 10 soundtracks. Even though I think, like, there are some songs in this game. There's some tracks in this game that I think are just, like, I love them. Like, I love them to death. It ranges from I don't really care about this track to this track is just utterly perfect for the moment that this is in. And I can't imagine any other track right now. And there are some tracks that get me choked up to this day. I think when I start the game too, not the one where everyone's dancing around and whatever. You can keep that one. But, like, when the main title screen comes up and, like, you have all the silhouettes of everyone running across and it's playing that main theme of Persona. Those are the tracks that get me choked up. The softer tracks that, like, are more well orchestrated and aren't using MIDI. I mean, those are fantastic. But yeah, that's where I'm at. Overall, yeah, it's really good. Sound design overall is really good. I'm just not as high in it as other people are. I don't think it's like an utter triumph, but I can definitely understand people who are totally into it. Just not me. Like, I'm not 100% there. I'm like 80% there, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. It's time to roll into the patron pontifications. What are the patron pontifications? Well, it's when our patrons write in to give their thoughts about a game that we are talking about. And these patrons wrote in to share their thoughts about Persona 4. If you want to share your thoughts, just go ahead, head over to our Discord and share your thoughts under patron pontifications. I always tag everyone that is a patron over there. You have to be a patron, of course, for $1 a month or more. You can do that at our link tree in the show notes. And we'll also post your opportunity to share your thoughts in the Patreon in case you just say, fuck your Discord. I understand. Discord is maybe not for everybody. Maybe you don't want to join Discord. Some people don't. All right. Anyway, we're going to be starting out with Alt. And Alt says, yes, the origin of Help Me Senpai, I'm stuck. Well, stuck half inside a TV. Anyway, Persona 4 sure is a special game, eh? It's like the Scooby game fused with a JRPG with some self-discovery sprinkled in. I adore this game, from the gameplay to the music to the art and just the interactions between characters. It's simply a magical journey. I have a couple issues with the game, like the slow 3-hour opening before the game really kicks off, and the restrictive calendar system isn't my jam. Break. We didn't talk about that. This game takes a long time to get rolling. That is true. Oh, you want that true ending? Well, you'd best be glued to a guide or forfeit that 70+ hour playthrough for a New Game Plus run, and yeah, just use a guide. My few personal issues aside, what an overall fantastic experience. I mean, yeah, there's some dated writing, but for me, this is one of the best PS2 era JRPGs. My first experience, however, was with Persona 4 Golden on the Vita around 2012, where I failed to meet the requirements for the true ending and got bitch slapped by that awful bad ending. How about that Persona 4 remake, though? We don't really need one since Atlus milks the ever-living shit out of Persona, but sure, why not, I guess. Hold up. What do you mean Persona 3 Portable, Persona 4 Golden, and Persona 5 were all ported a few years ago to modern systems? So why does P4 remake exist again? Thank you, Alt. The answer is...
Money!
All right,
I guess that's me next. Yeah. All right. Next we have Omi, who says, every day is great at your Junes. Thank you, Omi.
Everyday Young Life.
Yeah.
Junesu. Everyday Young Life, Junesu.
There you go.
Okay.
Next up, we have Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon, from the, quote, fun, unquote, and games and reignite podcasts. While I have barely scratched the surface on my own playthrough, I've really enjoyed the game so far. There is something about the flow of a Persona game that really scratches that itch for me. Part dungeon crawler, part visual novel, part life sim, and all RPG. There's also something about the Persona formula that feels perfect on a handheld for me. I'm currently playing on the Nintendo Switch, and I played through all Persona 5 Royal the same way, though it took me over a year to do it. I still hope to finish P4G this year. Well, good luck with that. My average playtime is about 7 months.
Matt can get through some games. They can get through games pretty quickly. They're a dedicated gamer of confidence. All right, Soha says, I have not played any of the Persona games myself, but it would be dumb for me to not post in such a legendary episode, considering the backstory behind it. All I know about it is that people put it in really high regard among Persona 3 and 5. I will eventually give this series a shot when I get more time, though. I think this is just an excuse and I need to drive instead of the time, as you guys didn't seem to have the latter and are still talking about it here today. Maybe when the remake comes out, we'll see. While we're talking about it. I know we delayed it, Soha. Well, we're talking about it now. Haha, remake isn't out yet. We made it.
Alrighty. Next on the list, the unsurprisingly beefy list of pontifications for this particular game, is Mike the Ref of Backbreaker Media on YouTube and also the Twitch. Mike says, ever since I've laid eyes on a Persona game, I have loved so much about it. The anime art style is pleasing to my eye. The soundtrack I found to be delightful to the ears. Even seeing the cross-promotion of Joker being in Smash Ultimate and the upcoming Sonic Racing Cross Worlds really makes me want to play this game. Then I see the time to finish and I realize that this might be better served as a game I watch on Twitch and leave it up in the background. Love a good story, but not when it takes more time to play than to climb Mount Everest. And it's valid, you know? Well, yeah.
This can be your Mount Everest.
By the way, I know how much time you put into, what was that Zelda game? Breath of the Wild. Yeah, I know you played that. I know you did, Mike.
Next up is Dave Jackson from Tales from the Backlog. I just played Persona 4 Golden for the first time and really enjoyed it, despite getting really sick of the repetitive dungeons and combat. Hey, us too. The real star of the show is one of gaming's best friend groups, a cast of characters that interact with each other like real high school friends do, character flaws, Yosuke, and all, except Teddy. Get out of here, Teddy.
Teddy hate. The Teddy hate is strong. Sega Boy 7. I've heard only great things about Persona 4, but I've never approached it because I heard it's a 100+ hour RPG, and I don't got time for that. Haha. Thank you, Sega Boy 7.
Yeah, none of us do, but here we are. All right, Randall says, praise be to Lyle. Long may he reign. I've never played a Persona game, but I know Lyle has been wanting this game for so long. It's true. We're here.
We
did it.
Next up is JC. Persona 4 Golden is sadly still in my extensive backlog, so haven't really tangled with it. However, I hear plenty of good things about it, and the amateur artist in me sure likes the character designs. Did Shane actually play this game? I mean, to completion? Praise the Lord.
Yeah, I pumped brakes on that one, bud.
Played.
He almost made it.
Played.
He's halfway there.
Completion.
Remains to be seen.
He's living on a prayer. No, he's not living on a prayer. He's living on a bear.
God damn
Right.
it.
Lucas from the Game Over Hell YouTube channel says, I first played Persona 4 on the original PlayStation 2 way back then. Decided to replay it through Golden on Switch this time. I really wanted to love this game like so many people seem to. The first term is very fun, and past the first couple weeks, it's pretty well paced for a Persona game. All characters are likable, and they mostly act like real teenagers, which is refreshing. I love the main girls, and I don't mean in the waifu-loving sense. They're the most convincingly real, fleshed-out girls out of all the Hashino games. The dungeon gameplay does get repetitive, but I quite enjoy the cycle of sweeping each floor of treasure and shadows and filling my Persona compendium over time. Then the second term happens. This is where Persona 4 starts losing me. Mind you, this is merely my opinion. I know I'm in the minority who feels this way, but I just found the second term painful to play through whenever I wasn't in a dungeon. I could elaborate, but fuck it. If you're curious, just freaking ask me, because this pontification is already too long. P.S. Teddy being an annoying sex pest isn't cute or funny. Thank you, Lucas. All right, this brings us to whether or not we believe that the game holds up today, as tradition dictates, as we are holden to, as we were at the beginning of this episode. Myself and Shane will go first, and we will give the guest the final word as to whether or not this game holds up today. Shane, how about you go first this time and let us know whether or not you think this game holds up?
Yes, I think it does. It just comes with the kind of one singular caveat that you better hope that you can set aside plenty of time to get through the whole thing, because I am here on a podcast talking about it, and I still did not finish it, and that was, as I've said, after about 50 hours of gameplay. So if you are not up for committing minimum like 70, 80 hours to a game to see, well, not even see all of it, actually, to at least play through to an ending, then maybe it's not going to be your cup of tea. But everything else about it, I think holds up very well. It's like I said, I thoroughly and unironically enjoy playing this game. Life just is what it is, and I just did not have the time to get through this entire behemoth before we got to talking about it, and that's with a delay. If you can get over that, or if you are okay with committing that much time to one game, then I would say, yeah, I think it's a great experience all around. So yes, very much yes.
All right. So we're starting off strong. I was kind of dreading having to play through Persona 4, mostly because of the length, not because I thought it was a bad game. I was torn. This game is one of those games that I knew was going to get a sort of an emotional response out of me. And when I first started playing it, I thought I was going to be like, oh my God, this game didn't hold up as well as it did. The first couple hours of this game, I have to admit, and we missed it, but it was brought up in the pontifications. At least I didn't bring it up. The first couple hours of this game are pretty damn brutal. They could easily turn someone off. It moves particularly slow. The combat is relatively hard. Like a lot of the hooks in terms of the social length and character development, that they don't really, in my opinion, get to the player until about 2 to 3 hours in. There's been other times I've tried to replay this game, and going through that initial sequence has turned me off before. When I beat this game again, I realized how important of a game this is to me, and how much I love this game and how good this game is. Does it have parts in it that could be considered flaws? Of course it does. We talked about criticisms here in this episode about how it can feel like it's too overly reliant on guides, how planning can sometimes get interrupted because of all of the events that it has throughout the game, how the dungeons sometimes can be a little bit too repetitive and samey, and all these things are true. But the culmination of this game and what I took away from it was just, generally speaking, the experience. It's almost like these characters are so real, and it feels like you're interacting with real people, and there's a real sense of escapism. And you can equate that to so much that can go on in your life when you're trying to find yourself, when you're trying to find a way to relate with others. And when you realize that sometimes, other people are also trying to figure themselves out too. That didn't exactly directly say that to me, but it just reminded me of a time in my life where I felt like a lot of that was going on. And it does communicate that so well, and it's so relatable. And it feels like all of the role-playing game elements are just window dressing on a bigger overall idea and a bigger overall experience. That's what the game actually wants you to do. It's a life sim with a turn-based RPG mechanic. And it pulls it off brilliantly. Whether or not you're using a guide, whether or not you choose to cheese it and try to max out every social link, I think everyone's going to get something out of this. Well, maybe not everyone, but I think most people who enjoy these type of games will get something out of this. So 100%, I think this game holds up. I think it is definitely a game. If you just like role-playing games, you have to play this. It's a masterpiece and it's brilliant. So 100%, yes, it holds up. Lyle?
I mean, yes. The short answer is yes, of course it does. I did have the benefit of initially playing this in 2017, 2018. It was already almost old enough to be on this show the first time I played it, and it's been almost a decade since then. I wondered if the game was going to hit me as hard and be as impactful, if just this constant balance between melancholy and hope was going to resonate as true for me now as it did then. And it does. As you said, these people, these friends that you make feel like real people. And there is just this, even a sense, I finished this game yesterday, and there's a sense of melancholy that I don't get to spend any more time in Inaba. Like that chapter has closed again, and there's not much more to see there. And that reminds me of times in my own life where one chapter closes so another can open. And that's really, that's what this is about, is though people learning who they are, how they want to move through the world, that there are times in our life that they may be past, but they never leave us. And the fact that a game showed me all of these things is why it's so impactful. Like, this wasn't the first game that I saw as art. It wasn't the first game that made me feel things, but it was the first game that really hit me in a way that I still can't describe almost a decade later. And so I'm grateful for my friend that initially put me onto it. I'm grateful to all of the patrons who brought us here to having such a long and wonderful discussion about it. It absolutely holds up. If you like JRPGs, if you like good stories, if you're not afraid of a 70-hour game, absolutely, you have to play this.
Well, there you go. Unanimously, emphatically, Persona 4 holds up. It's a game that we have all said that is something that holds up today. Fantastic. Lyle, thank you for so much for giving us the opportunity to play this for the show. I know that you had a mini crusade of sorts, and it definitely paid off, and we got to experience it. And for me, once again, Shane for the first time, but it brushed back a lot of memories, a lot of good memories, a lot of complicated memories. A time in my life I remember fondly, even through all its struggles. It's like it just took me back to a place that, just like this game, it took me back to a place that I miss. And it was great kind of reliving those memories in my head. So thank you so much. And thank you for coming back on the show.
Yeah, I'm happy to.
With that being said, anywhere that you want people to find you on the internet and things that you do there?
I have a very on again, off again podcast with a couple of my buddies. It's called You Random Podcast. Someone once asked me what it was about, and I just laughed at them. It's like asking, what do you talk with your friends about when you meet up at the bar? That's what it's about. It's three friends who get together and just share the cool stuff we found and talk to each other because we can. But I would be remiss, especially during the summer, if I did not encourage people to participate again in the 4-job fiesta. If the 70-hour JRPG isn't too much for you, maybe think of dropping in, playing Final Fantasy V, support some charity, have a good time. I will be taking a couple of weeks off from doing that, and then I'll pick up and play through in a little bit. I need to do something that isn't a massively long game for a little bit before I consider that.
Yeah. If not, we'll still do our annual donation to charity regardless. I'm going to try and drop in. Thank you for reminding me, Lyle, but who knows? It's been a weird year.
Yeah, it has.
Especially with all these games. We'll see. Hopefully we can get that off. There'll be a donation to charity regardless. I promise. But yeah, go check out You Random. I just learned that I probably knew this before, but it's a Unix coding thing. So,
Yeah.
Or is it Linux or is it Linux?
No.
It's not that one. It's not that one. No, I actually don't know how far back in its lineage it goes, whether it is in any of the traditional Unixes or if it's a Linux specific thing and in more modern Unixes. I don't know the answer to that part.
Okay.
It is, however, very on brand.
It absolutely is.
Shane, pitch Linux to us.
Anyway, so our stuff, I'm just gonna skip right past that. So if
You can't bear to talk about Linux?
you know what, this show's got to end sometime. It might be tonight. Anyway, as far as we're concerned, if you made it through this, I was joking when I said at the beginning that it was going to be a 3-hour episode, but fucking here we are. Congrats, first of all. And we hope you enjoyed your stay. If this happens to be your first time, then, not all our episodes are this long, so that might be disappointing depending on, your take on podcasts. But we do have a lot of them. So we got that going for us, and consequently going for you, because it's out there, it's free. All you got to do is just go find it, which you probably did. That's the hard part. If you're hearing me say this right now, I would encourage you then to go back to our extensive and illustrious backlog and check out all of the stuff that we've talked about over the last 10 some odd years now, which is still crazy every time I say it. But that, along with all our other goodies, whether that happens to be the Twitch or the YouTube channel or our Patreon or merch store, which, by the way, at the time of this recording, we are in the process of moving to a shiny new merch store with higher quality merchandise, and I am very excited about it. So that's it may be that, short turnaround, so maybe not. But when this comes out, it may be ready to go. But if it's not, hang out, or we still have our current merch store open. Nothing wrong with that one. So you can check that out too. Let's see what else we got out there. I don't know. Socials. We kind of do that sometimes. We have them. They exist. And that's the most that I can say about that at this time. So all of that is at our link tree. So just go over there. It's linktr.ee/retro hangover. And all of them are located in one convenient spot. Chris, do you have anything that you would like to place as an addendum to my rambling shenanigans about stuff that we do?
I have a massive headache and I'm ready to go to bed.
Great. I too am ready to go to bed because I am almost 40 and it is midnight. So yes.
Yes.
Well, I guess on that note,
Right.
Until next time.
Play with your finding your waifu might be too much to bear joysticks.
Shane here with a quick message. The one rule Chris and I have always gone by regarding advertisements is this. It has to be something we use and can personally vouch for. If you know me, you know I love coffee. And Bones Coffee Company has been my go-to for home brewing for quite some time now. Their small batch beans come in an impressive variety of flavors like Mint Invaders from Chocolate Space, or Electric Unicorn, which I swear tastes exactly like Fruity Pebbles. And the best part? No added sugar or calories involved, just natural flavors infused right into the beans themselves. Build your own sample pack of 5 4-ounce bags to find out which flavors speak to you, or jump in head first with full 12-ounce bags. They've even got K-Cups. Step up your homebrew game with Bones Coffee by visiting bit.ly/RHPBones. That's bit.ly/RHPBONES.